My name is Braden. I'm here with Mark, and we decided just to record some stuff talking about Weiss, card games, other stuff that we both do.
Now, the real question is, do you want to let the audience know why we decided to do this? Because I think, most of this just boils down to, hey, we're in the parking lot of Applebee's after locals on a Saturday, and it's like, man, we have some good,
We
good
have some
discussions.
takes.
We got some takes. We're not going to say if they're hot takes. We're not going to say if they're good takes. But they are certainly choices.
Yep. Yeah, so that's why we basically decided to do this. We were told, hey, why aren't you guys recording this? So now we're recording this.
And anybody who's unfortunate enough to listen can enjoy.
Yep. So, because it's the first one, we decided to start off easy. We're going to talk about the English Weiss Schwarz Banlist, go through all the cards on it, talk about if they still deserve to be hit,
Why they got there in the first place.
yeah, why they're there originally, if they were to come off, what would the deck look like, how would it change, and should it get hit further, should it come off, things like that.
And, just for a bonus, we may, once we get done with it, we might discuss other cards that may or may not deserve a place on the ban list.
Yep, there's a few that might need to be there. So, going off the new stuff, we have...
I think maybe we should qualify what ban list we're going
Yeah,
off
so
of, because new might not be the same list
anymore,
when we
yeah.
record.
As of January 26, starting the year off, we've got the English ban list starts with the limited 2 with My for the Rascal Does Not Dream of a Bunny Girl series. It's a pretty light hit to the Bunny Girl deck overall. Like a limit 2 is definitely not as extreme as they could have done, and I think the reason why they only hit the finisher is because this whole deck was clearly intended to work the way it does from like the design board.
Yeah, I mean, the deck's not doing anything overly crazy, but honestly, I guess it depends on what's going into this list, but seeing a triple My finisher with some lists is really freaking scary. I mean, I guess you could jump in if you disagree here, but I feel like it's a very similar situation as with Chainsaw Man. Why that also... It's a very similar finisher, not 1-to-1, but
Yeah.
it has a very similar feel, and they did the same thing there. So I think maybe the idea was, okay, the finisher's strong. It's not insane. The rest of the package, it's not groundbreaking in any way, but if we just limit the finisher, then you have to fill that extra third slot.
Yep,
And
the
it
third
just
wave.
doesn't have that same killing power. And I don't know exactly what the general threshold is. I think in my mind it's like, can you consistently deal 8?
Yeah, if you're looking at a finisher in Weiss, you want it to deal about 8 damage or lock the opponent out of like a finisher board. Looking at some other control decks like Neg Souls, Nike, tap counters and Hololive and money counters and other sets. But yeah, if you're looking for a finisher that actually closes games, 8 to 9 damage is kind of what you want to be able to do. And Triple My was like incredibly good at dealing that. I think the big reason that Triple My was so scary was there was a ton of access to it in the deck. You could pick it up whenever. And it was only 7 stock, quote unquote, to get the full triple.
And you only need 4 cards in hand, 1 for climax, 3 for pitching.
So you needed the full hand going into the turn, but that's not very hard with Bunny Girl's engine.
Well,
really.
not to also mention, but if you're getting everything right, you have 5 cards of compression and memory at a minimum usually.
Yep, and that's where that quote unquote stock threshold kind of changes, because you need to spend at least 3 stock on memory cards. the Reiki goes in for free. But the other 3 cards all need 1 stock to pay out to generate the memory. To be fair, though, I do think triple Mai without memory condition is still really good. It's the same as double Mai with the memory condition, which is what we're playing right now. And it was a lot less work to do. Going for the memory condition was still always worth it, just because the memory is good. And yeah, triple Mai going through what is it, 6 times 3, 18 cards for climaxes, and effectively burning 2 on every single one, plus potentially a refresh ping. Yeah, that's a lot of good damage.
Well, and it's also moving a lot of cards, so I mean, if your opponent's heavily compressed, you're going to find those climaxes pretty easy.
Yep.
And you could potentially hit them with, well, you might guarantee 1 full refresh ping, and you might almost knock them down to a second refresh ping, depending on how
small their deck
how
is.
compressed they are.
Mm-hmm. Also, because it's an Icy Tail, it doesn't really need the stock swap, which the set has. It's just on attack and super expensive, especially in a list that's trying to generate that memory like that. But
well, and being Icy Tail, you don't want
you want
those climaxes in stock. You want to see them so that you can hurt them.
Yep. So, Mai, very strong. If it were to come off, I think it still should be on the ban list. I think it doesn't come off, not for a while. If it were to come off, I think it would be. I
think it'd be more consistent. You'd probably see it topping more than it already is. But I guess personally, I don't. It probably just steps it up back again, but it's not a crazy power spike.
Yeah, I would say it's pretty close to Bang Dream. Like, I don't know if it edges out Bang Dream. I think it's pretty close. In terms of power level, full power Mai. Yeah, that's about where I would put it. I think it'd be better than Overlord. If Overlord, with like Overlord's current bans, I think it would be better than that. I think it's better than Overlord if Overlord was fully unrestricted. Just because Mai actually kills people.
And you trying to say Ainz doesn't kill people?
Ainz stabilizes and controls the game. I don't think Ainz is a blowout finisher as much as it's a 2-turn finisher.
I was gonna say Ainz is that slow burn. I'm gonna kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't kill me before I do.
Yep. And while we're on Ainz, we can take a look at their ban list.
The Nazariq ban list.
Yep. So they have a choice on the Vampire Bride package, the 1/1 back row, and the 2/1 10/5 on play. It refunds the stock, and then draw 2, ditch 2 to help you find your bar. Basically, everything on this ban list is this is effectively a soft ban on the Yuri and the Schultz here, because there's no way you would ever not run the 1/1 back row. You need it to keep the Ainz on board. There's too many ways to remove it, to remove a body if it's really something like Ainz. With the 1/1 anti-change counter is effectively the only way for a majority of decks to get rid of it. The exception being Freerun, as well as non-targeted whole board removal, which we don't see a lot of in the format.
I forget. Does that Ainz have protection from like clock kick and stuff too?
Yeah, it does, because both characters cannot become reversed. So you cannot bomb it either. You can just swing front into it for free, which is like kind of the weird upside of it.
The upside is basically whoever fights Ainz doesn't get reversed, so you don't have to worry about that lane disappearing. So if you have something you want to keep, just swing it into Ainz, because nothing will happen to it. But if you need anything on reverse, or
it'll disappear the next turn when they blow it up by sending all the goats to memory.
Exactly.
But no, I do think so. A take that we hear frequently about Overlord is that it's very susceptible to damage. That because the 1-0 combo is a time machine, it goes to memory and then comes back. It leaves an open lane. That we hear that the deck is very prone to eating damage due to having open lanes. I honestly think that's not the biggest concern in the format. The deck is perfectly fine going to level 2 before the opponent. Most decks don't have level 1 anti-change, though a few prominent ones do. But I think the real power of Overlord is its ability to stabilize, as long as it can draw into the bar climax. The capacity of the deck to heal like 2 times a turn, or like 2 times every time it drops the bar, like deal 2, ping 2 effectively every time it drops a bar. Heaven forbid it gets the third Irons on the board and heals 3, pings 3 every time it drops the bar. Is a very strong stabilizing and very strong catch-up game, and then being able to do that while holding tap counter is quite imposing. And the ban list reflects the hit inconsistency in recurring the bar climax. There are other pieces. I see a lot of the new lists run the check 3 for anything. Just the pay 1, pitch 1, check 3 for anything. Just to dig for bar, effectively replacing the Schaltier package. And it still maintains enough resources. You don't need a lot of stock going into the top. Once you resolve the goats, all your stock overhead is basically being funneled into tap counter or hard playing another Ines, or just continuing to push your advantage state. Notably, Overlord's been converting incredibly well with this ban list recently.
Well, I think that's kind of the crazy thing too with Overlord is Overlord's been around for almost 2 years at this point.
I think it's been long.
Even longer.
I think it might be longer now.
Is that before? When did the bans hit though? Because
these bans
seems like they weren't right off the bat. It took a while to get to this point.
Yeah, we had full power Overlord for a hot minute before it got hit. We were very aware this deck was a boogeyman deck because Japan had hit it.
Well, and the odd thing was I think the one time we were going to regionals, you were worried that I remember on the way there, you're kind of talking that this was a kind of a sleeper deck of sorts, where it wasn't seeing a lot of representation, but the representation it was seeing was still doing relatively well, and it was kind of a sleeper deck of sorts over here in EN.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of people picked up Overlord in the English market. And what we've kind of seen with it, back at least when Overlord first dropped and was at full power, we had full power Hololive at that moment, which is a huge deck that loves to push a lot of damage very quickly, plays the game very fast.
I was going to say, we had full power Gura at that point, right?
Yeah, we had full power Gura, either 4 standby, 4 pants, or choice pants.
Gura was such a versatile list. It's just like, pick your flavor.
Yeah, Gura. We'll talk about Hololive.
We'll get there. Hololive's on the ban list.
Yep. But, Hololive, I think, being a massive pile of 1k1 decks that all play a significant amount of soul triggers, I think that compounds into a lot faster of a format, as well as the full power 7 Deadly Sins at the time. We had full power Chainsaw at some point during this as well.
So Overlord just didn't have the speed at that time, and then once we started seeing the meta slow down a little bit, Overlord started getting that more consistent toppings, seeing a lot more high end finishes in tournaments.
Yep. Oh, the other thing we had was we had full power well, not full power, but we had slime.
I could be wrong, but didn't we had Alice, full power Alice at the time too, didn't we? Or did we have
Alice was pretty fast. Alice hit was pretty fast.
Okay.
That was a teams format. I don't remember. That we had full power Alice for, but I remember that was the best deck in the format by far.
I remember the one regional that Overlord, we were talking about Overlord. I remember seeing some Alice players, so I didn't remember if that was post Alice hit or if that was still pre.
I do not remember, but Alice is the number one deck in any format Alice exists at full power in. So
to get back on topic, if we were to relieve these restrictions from Overlord, how do you think that would change the deck?
In the current format, I think Overlord's conversion would be even higher than it is right now. I think so there's been an incredible decline in slime players at regionals as well, and I think that's a huge buff to Overlord players, because that, I think, was one of their hardest matchups, in being that slime literally just didn't care about the Overlord matchup, as well as held anti-change counter, was big enough to contest all the board all over the place, and just made it incredibly annoying for Overlord to get advantage moving. And then these finishers with incredibly high reach, the Guras, the Seven Deadly Sins. It's sometimes Aki was kind of nasty with it if he stuck it. Some of these decks also pushed Overlord past their threshold of healing down, of that stabilizing. So I think it would be good. It would convert. I still don't think full power Overlord is as strong as Bang Dream. I think Bang Dream is still better than full power, just because Bang Dream can play a game where it doesn't care about its board effectively. Notably, the level 1 combo itself is 2 or more other conditioned, I believe. So it just goes. Other top decks currently, Nikke already doesn't like the Overlord matchup.
So it only goes more positive there.
It only gets worse for Nikke in that side. What else do we see right now? 8 Standby Hololive doesn't like Overlord either, being a slightly slower deck. Any of the standby decks, Overlord kind of just eats them quite a bit, especially post Quince hit, where we don't have a 12 standby deck in the format that can rebuild the board instantly.
How do you think it goes into Bunny Girl?
Bunny Girl is probably one of the better positioned ones, because again, Bunny Girl can play a game where it just doesn't care about its board. It prefers to sit on that brainstorm in the back, just to keep moving cards, to keep getting value out of triggering the climaxes. But I'd have to check the level 1 Mai combo, but I believe it's another 2 or more conditioned combo. So it just gets the combo off, or all the conditions are just tied to the 1 card in memory.
I was going to say, if I'm not mistaken, I don't play Bunny Girl, but I think the Mai is strictly tied to the memory condition.
Yeah, I know the Twin Drive and the Power are both tied to the memory, but the combo I know is not. I just don't know what...
Because you get the first part of the combo, and then if you meet memory condition, you get the second part of the combo.
No, the combo is only the check 3, add 1.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
The twin, you actually keep the Power and the Twin Drive and pay 1 out, as long as you have the memory card. So yeah, again, that's why Mai's on the ban list as well. It just always works, nothing stops it. But yeah, Overlord's already in the number 2 slot right now. I don't think that really changes anytime soon, especially, and it's if you were to unban it. Does it need another card on the list? I would personally like to see... I would like to see tap added to the list, or some adjustment where tap counter is added to a choice restriction, either with the 1/1 and the Vampire Bride or something like that. I don't think you need to go beyond a choose 3 still. Like, you can give them the Yuri, but take off tap. And I think the deck would be right in line with where it probably should be. Or you can go the full JP format route and you just ban the 1-1 and just give them everything else, because they're about to get one wave of support in English, and Japan's got the second wave on the way as well. So they're going to see some love pretty quick. Alright.
Moving up to the quintessential quintuplets part of the ban list. This part's a little bit thicker than the other two that we've just discussed.
Yep. So this was upgraded from a choice 1 of 3 to a choice 1 of 5. We have the double filter.
I mean, you could just say it. It's literally the Nino deck.
Yeah, it's all Nino hits. These are all 8 standby hits or 12 standby hits, however you want to call it. The choices are the double filter for Ninos. We have Charm, which is a neg soul counter, neg 3 soul counter. The 5-card Search Brainstorm that also sacks itself to look at 4 add 1, so that's 9 cards of deck speed on a singular card. The set 2 standby finisher that gains standby trigger as long as you play her own standby, as well as being a burn 3 finisher at end of attack. And then the Foolish Burial that has pay 2 salvage on death. All of these cards are really good for standby, like phenomenal.
Well, and just a quick pause. Aren't some of these cards technically playable in some of the other decks?
Yes. Notably, we see Charm every so often. Any deck that can fit enough red in to fit Charm is a good defensive counter. So 8 Pants will sometimes jam enough red in to fit Charm, just because the 8 Pants deck, I think, has enough draw ditch and event access to be able to like move into Charm. Most of the other decks really don't run too many of these, mostly because the Nino filter is tied to Nino.
I was going to say, most of the cards are a little too heavily
tied
to
I think
the standby list.
Almost everything else, is tied to standby. In terms of the choice people make on this choose 1 of 5, we've seen 2 camps for it, or like 3 camps actually. I think I've seen 3 of these lists. I've seen people take the filter, and I think that's been the more popular one recently, just because Nino has other defensive and offensive counters to play. So you don't really need Charm as much as you would need some other stuff. And the filter is just good filter all game. Being able to pick stuff up, move stuff out of hand, do whatever you need to do with that. Top check knowledge is also good. People typically don't run the Brainstorm. They'll find other ways to mill, or they'll have the other option, which is the Foolish Burial. Being able to selectively just put the 1-1 engrave on turn 0, effectively, and then slam the standby, and always have like the 1-1 unkillable on the first turn of the game, or your 1-1 standby combo on the second turn of the game, has been quite strong. And then some people do try to make 12 standby work with the actual finisher effect. However, I feel like we've moved into the movie thing and just going for the movie burn 4s, because that doesn't need the climax in play to go off. It's a lot of Nino hate. This was the number 1 standby deck for a very long time, until it got hit with the additional choice 2.
Well, and we could also say that for a standby list, the Nino list was a very different standby list, because generally when I think of standby, it's, oh hey, look, it's the Great Wall of China, how the heck am I going to beat over this nonsense? The Nino list was kind of the opposite of, I'm not the immovable object, I am the unstoppable force, I'm going to put my fist down your throat, and there's nothing you can do about it.
Yep. Nino was notoriously known to play very much like a 1K1 deck that also just had standby triggers in it. The 2-2 combo stands itself and swings in at 12k with 2 souls, 12-5, 2 souls. and then you can just hand encore it over and over and over again. The 1/1 swings in at 8/5, which is already over spec, just sits smaller defensively, but again, hand encore, and it needs a reverse, so it doesn't care.
I say, and basically I remember the 2/2, it's basically memory kick or clock kick.
No, it's just big with hand encore.
I just meant to get rid of it.
Oh yeah, to get rid of it, yeah, you need to hard remove it to get rid of it, because they'll just sit on it, and it'll just keep winning board.
Well, I was going to say, with the hand encore, it's just unkillable. It just keeps looking... You just keep looking at it on the other side. It's like, get rid. I want you gone.
Mm-hmm.
And they can get into it at level 1.
Yep, because it just stands itself as its standby combo, as it just stands up.
And they just build that board quick. And
yep, and then
it's hard to keep your board.
Yep, Nino notoriously, even with these hits, still has almost all the pieces that choose at their trigger. Yep. So. Recently with Nino, what we've been seeing played is they moved just very hard into the movie stuff now. Typically, you see Foolish Burial as the standby card of choice for the choice restriction. Being a very powerful effect, you can hold it over refresh, play it as you refresh your deck, and then that allows you to have at least one copy of whatever standby target you want to get in that moment of time. The movie 3/2 combo also stands itself with the combo, and then being a global 15 means it sits really big. It makes the rest of your board absolutely massive. You can play defensively like a traditional standby deck. You already have a check 3 brainstorm, so your deck speed is kind of fixed. As long as you can hit that brainstorm. And then you get pseudo deck speed out of just choosing your trigger 4 times every attack step. The level 1 combo notably does it on its own. The 1/1 back row gives it to all your Ninos. The blue level 0, where you can freely put a card into your clock to go search for a Nino, has its own as well. The bounce back gives it to a character, and then the 3/2 movie top end, when it stands itself, gives the effect as well.
But overall, would you safely say that this Nino list is not great?
It's not as good as what Nino was and could be. I don't know if we'll get more Quince support. It's kind of tapered off a little bit since the extra booster stuff, which the extra booster did give us the good 2/1 back row for the standby deck. But I think Quince's, at least standby Quince, is more or less kind of cooked for a while until it gets another wave of support or some of these cards start coming off the list.
So, if cards were going to come off the list, which ones do you think they would safely come off first? Which ones do you think would they be more likely to say, yeah, most people aren't using this card, so we'll take that off the list? Mm-hmm. Or would they give them one of the cards that they usually choose and say, okay, you can have that one?
Yeah.
Because we were going to give the deck a massive power spike, rather than here's a little trickle.
Yeah, so the order in which I think these cards would come off the list, I think the Ichiko would be the first thing to come off the Brainstorm. Just because they already have the check 3 Brainstorm, that's a very comparable amount of deck speed as long as you hit a climax. After that, I feel like they would give us... They would either take the filter off or they would take the Foolish Burial off. They would leave a choice of the 12 standby finisher, charm, and one of the 2 level 0s. Probably Foolish Burial. Just because Foolish Burial, in combination with the other 2 cards, would be quite strong. Just as a quick note, the other Quince lists are unaffected by all of these hits. And we see them every so often make a top cut. We don't really see them win too often. We see them in teams quite a bit. And like the last wave of support was pretty good to a few of them, but they are just a little bit behind some of these stronger 1K1 decks. We see mostly the 8 Pants engine with a lot of just the other good stuff out of Quince.
Now, here's the real question, though. If they took everything off and gave full power Nino standby, how would the meta feel?
Full power Nino. I think, let's see. I think it is, at that point, the best standby deck in the format. How good is the best standby deck in the format? I think, so that beats out 8 standby Hololive, which is like the number 4 deck in the format right now.
It goes into Nikkei.
Yep, so I think it can actually kind of outwall Nikkei a little bit.
Well, as long as you can deal with Alice, that's about what you only need to deal with.
Yeah, so it's like it swings over Alice perfectly fine. The moment a copy of the 3/2 like hits the board and like stands itself, if they can resolve 2 3/2s, which I don't think is very difficult for Nino, I think it wins board entirely against Nikkei. I don't think Nikkei can do anything at that point. I think it's too big.
Running this into
running it into something like a Bunny Girl. So we actually have seen, well, not but Overlord. We've actually seen like full power Overlord into like hit Quince, and Quince was still performing very well. Just because it has so much capability to rebuild the board instantly. It didn't really care that like the board got blown up, funny enough. It just rebuilt it all, or like paid 6 stock just to keep the whole board around, like half its board around. It's like pay 6, ditch 2 for like 2 hand encores and 2 other cards.
So it'd be reasonable to say full power Nino standby would more or less sack the meta.
It's like I don't think it would sack it. I think that a lot of decks would swing under it. Notably something like a powerful Bunny Girl deck, something like good 7 Deadly Sins, something like Bang Dream. So like an upcoming Oshinoko 2 will probably like just go under it. Like it doesn't need to win board. So you just go and just like try and outpace it as a 1K1 deck effectively. And some decks can do that, but I do think it would be the best standby deck in the format. And saying that 8 standby Hololive is currently like number 4-ish, number 5-ish in the format, I think it puts it pretty high up in comparison.
So speaking of 7 Deadly Sins...
Yep, 7 Deadly Sins got a few more hits pretty recently.
Because apparently this set is just the cockroach that just doesn't die. It gets hit, it comes out with a new deck, it's still really good. I don't know, you could say otherwise, but I think they could go a little bit further with their latest hit maybe, but it's... The pool of decks in 7 Deadly is very much dwindled. Yes,
so the new hit being the Limit 2 to the Elizabeth combo, Elizabeth's Brainstorm and combo. My big problem with this hit in the Limit 2 is that I'm not incentivized to move off of the Elizabeth combo still, even with this.
Well, you can still get full combo if by chance you get both of them.
Exactly. I can still get 2 instances.
If you get both of them, nothing's changed.
Exactly.
It's just the chances of you getting 2 of them is drastically reduced.
Yep. So a lot of it is a tempo thing. How quickly can I find one? The first one can usually find the second one pretty quick.
Oh, we should have mentioned that it is a Limit 2.
It is Limit 2 on the Elizabeth Brainstorm. As well as they have the choice 4 between Stock Swap, the Blue Fumio, the Check 3 Bounce and choose the Check 3 Rearrange and bounce a card, and also has the Soul Pump effect on it, I believe. And then the the Escanor finisher. A lot of things on this. So this is effectively two different ban lists.
Oh, those ban lists aren't for the same deck.
Yeah, exactly. This is two different ban lists for two different decks. Funny, both of them used the Elizabeth Brainstorm combo. So, the common denominator was the resource engine, with this level 1 Meliodas being like a good stopgap because you're not running a level 1 combo. You just had this thing that kept you clean instead. But yeah, plussing combo on a plussing brainstorm with like no real downside on a stock soul was kind of a mistake. They kind of learned their lesson after printing this and the Himeno brainstorm from Chainsaw. And we haven't seen one of these again, at least not a raw hand advantage plus. We've seen stock charge ones in other sets. Usually, though, those are kind of suboptimal compared to a few of the other ones. Funny, the other instance of this combo that I'm aware of on a spammable brainstorm is in Project Sakai, and that one was good in set 1 for English, but it kind of falls off in set 2 in favor of some actual more traditional plussing combos. But yeah, I think the Elizabeth is ridiculous. I think it should have been like banned. I think they have other good combos at 1 and 2, like an early play level 2 combo that's also serviceable. They could also have hit the Hawk Fumio, because now basically every deck chooses the stock swap, because stock swap's just that important in Weiss, and then they'll still run the yellow Fumio, and yeah, it pushes your colors a bit. Well, actually, it doesn't. You're still on yellow combo at 0, so it doesn't even push your color. But yeah, taking out the 1 stock Fumio and making them run the 3 stock Fumio, definitely a good, at least a step in the right direction. The fact the set had 2 Fumios and stock swap is kind of ridiculous.
It's reasonable to say that mistakes were made, but at the same time, you can also make the argument, oh, it's just an English-only set, so we didn't know it was going to be that problematic.
Yeah, a lot of these, almost a lot of the profiles in Seven Deadly Sins do exist in other sets, either in the JP format or the English format. The exceptions being, I think, having a plussing combo on a plussing brainstorm. I don't know if too many other sets have that, like a hand advantage plus and not just a stock plus. But yeah, like all the other effects I think did exist, or like could very well exist in other sets.
But did they all exist cohesively at the same time?
Yeah, so it's like notably in English, stock swap and Fumio both exist in Bang Dream, and you could argue that the stock swap being cheaper in Bang Dream is stronger than the Fumio being cheaper, because stock swap has more use cases and is a stronger blowout profile typically than a Fumio is. But yeah, the Hendrickson burns in combination with stock swap and Fumio still incredibly strong. I think full power 7 Deadly Sins is one of the strongest decks in the format. It challenges stuff like Bang Dream easily. All of their stuff being on characters, nothing's event locked. In fact, like if you you could argue that you run trees, or it's like you're supposed to run trees, but if everything's unrestricted, do you even need the trees at that point?
Well, we would have seen post-ban 7 Deadly against full power Overlord?
Yeah, I think it. I think 7 Deadly Sins is stronger than that. I think it's too much advantage, too quickly, too strong. you can shove up the Elizabeth Brainstorms and like just not care, because at that point in the game you've already
got all your
it's like
value by the time Ainz hits the field, so who cares? I'm going for end game board now.
Yep, you just stall for a turn and then wait for the finisher drop. And yeah, when we saw that in Worlds and the tournaments leading up to Worlds, we saw the full capability of what Seven Deadly Sins can do without this, both with and without this hit. The capability to like deal itself 3 or 4 damage to like prevent a level lock happened at Worlds, and then it dropped the full Hendrickson board and proceeded to like win that game from a range that shouldn't exist at that level. So I think that Seven Deadly Sins at full power is probably like a number 1, number 2 deck contender. Like if it was fully unbanned.
I'm gonna say fully unbanned. Would you contend it potentially reaches tier 0.5?
It's probably. I think it's its own tier at that point. I think it's so strong.
Oh, would you argue almost a 0 tier deck then?
I don't think it's quite a 0 tier deck, because something like
it doesn't completely shut the meta out.
Yeah,
like Data Live did back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. This is not a 0 deck format. This is not a play 7 deadly or lose. If you're talking full everything unbanned, there's some really broken stuff on this list.
I feel like that's a bit of an understatement if it's all like together.
There's 2 really I think there's 2 extra broken cards on this list that are fully banned and should stay fully banned. And those 2 cards and those 2 decks have the full capacity to like probably challenge Seven Deadly Sins. And those decks are not fun. They're banned for a reason. And we can talk about one of them.
Well, do you wanna make an argument for a full Elizabeth ban?
For a full Elizabeth ban.
Do you think a full Elizabeth ban would be warranted?
I could see.
Like we mentioned when we started, if you can find both of them, the limit 2 doesn't mean anything.
So I would actually be fine with the Escanor restriction coming off with the full Elizabeth ban. I think you could, if you fully hit Elizabeth, I think other things on this list could come off. Notably Escanor and the Bouncer. I know that's a very degenerate combo. However, you cannot now use your degenerate combo to find the 2 soul climax and have Escanor swing for 1/5 times, which was the biggest problem with that.
So you would argue that if they would just full out ban Elizabeth, the ban list could be, or their choose 1 of 4 could be drastically.
It could be
alleviated.
changed. Yeah, it's I do think bounce plus Escanor, like bounce check 3 plus Escanor. Yeah, I think it's rough, but yeah, I think you could probably see it if it didn't have the 2 soul trigger and like the whole back row engine for the whole game. It would be a very strong deck. I think it would be one of the.
It would still be incredibly strong, but without the Elizabeth engine at the bottom.
Yeah, without the Elizabeth engine pushing it, I think it would be much more manageable.
Okay.
All right. I know you're a fan of this set. You're not a fan of this set.
What set are you insinuating that I'm a big fan of right now?
You love Hololive.
God,
love
please.
Hololive.
Please save me from this set. This set is such an annoyance to deal with. I dislike so many things about this.
All right,
so this section's gonna be mostly you, because I don't want to be the guy sitting over here bitching and moaning the whole time about it.
All right, so let's start with the easy one. IMA is banned. Do you know why IMA is banned?
No, and I'd really, I'm just glad she's there.
All right, IMA. For a lot of people who don't know, IMA is a card that says when you play it from hand or from deck, you can discard a card to search for another copy of IMA from your deck and place it on the stage. So you can daisy chain that. So you can, for 3-hand and the IMA, you can get all 4 copies of IMA on the board. The reason why we've seen that profile
in other
in other sets and lists and everything. The problem with IMA was discovered when Sokka was discovered.
We'll get to that one in a minute.
Sokka being a Spawn Riki, and we'll talk more about Sokka later. Hololive, with its notoriously massive card pool, has an on-death Spawn Riki, which means, in combination with IMA, as well with the effect, with multiple effects, notably in the Gen 3 package, the ability to sack their own characters mid-battle step. You can sack your on-death Spawn Riki, spawn an IMA to the back row. That IMA can then ditch a card to spawn a standing IMA to the front row, which spawns another standing IMA to the front row, which can then spawn another standing IMA to the front row.
Okay, I now understand why this is banned.
Yes, so effectively what happened is you would play the generic promo two-soul, any one of them that you had. You would play a Spawn Riki, and one of the cards that killed the Spawn Riki when it attacked, notably like the level, there's like a Marine, there's level 1 options for this, I think there might be a 0 option for this, doesn't matter. Once you hit 0-6, it was go mode. You would play the two-soul, you would play the Shuffle Back 2, just to shuffle back any IMAs that you didn't have in your deck, and then you would get 6 swings with a two-soul climax in play. Or you would get like 5 swings with a two-soul climax in play.
I don't need restanders if I can just play new cards.
Exactly. So the deck's a coin flip, the deck's banned, it breaks all the fundamental things of Weiss. Unlike Sokka, which punched yourself to do this one did not, it just ditched a card. But you went stock positive on all of this. So you would have 6 stock turns, because why not? Yeah, deck was... Any pile of IMA is disgusting, gross, it's funny exactly one time, and then it's not.
Listen, I know decks that can generate 6 stock. I know Nikkei can do it. But by God, you got to work for that 6 stock.
Yeah,
and you don't get 6 swings on that.
You don't get 6.
That's a lot of value.
Yep. So IMA very clearly a oversight in card design, in-set card design.
Now, just as a thought, what if they eroded the text on that card to say once per turn?
You would need to have a hard once per turn, which... Does that exist in Weiss? Do we have hard once per turns in Weiss?
I gotta imagine there's...
I know we do in Vanguard, the other Bushiroad game.
Right, and if I'm not mistaken, the new Hololive TCG also has some once per turns, technically.
Yeah, so it's like, we've seen once per turn, but the problem is it spawns a new card, so you need to have hard once per turn written on the card itself.
Right.
And
but if that profile did exist, if it was a hard once per turn...
If it was a hard once per turn, then yeah, it would be fine. You could get 1 extra attack by doing the whole setup, because you spawn Riki to the back row on place. What you do is you just make it so it doesn't work when it's spawned from deck. You only do it when it's spawned from hand. Which is very similar to other effects like the deck we just talked about, the Meliodas. The Meliodas does the exact same thing, or just on play, ditch a card, spawn a Meliodas.
So if you think they eroded the text, it would be potentially...
It'd be fine. It would be a nothing burger card at that point,
and probably nobody would run it.
And nobody would run it, exactly. To be fair, I've been brewing decks. It's like, I need some weird level 1 off piece that like just generates board. I like look at IMA, I'm like, damn, I can't play that. It's banned. And it's like, all right. because it's like red as well. Red level 1s are kind of rough to come by, like outside of a Chloe deck. So that's why that's banned. If it was unbanned, it's the number 1 deck in the format at any point. And it's like for not the right reason either. It's not a real Weiss deck, unfortunately.
And now we get to talk about the really fun card in Hololive.
Yep. So we have Gower Gura, formerly Hololive member, Kryzen, Saba. But very strong finisher, one of the strongest finishing profiles that we've seen in Weiss Schwarz, in terms of its own profile. Not the strongest finisher board we've ever seen.
Well, it's incredibly consistent, though.
It's incredibly consistent that you're capable of doing it.
And you should probably mention this is a limited to 2. It's not banned.
This is not banned.
You can still play Gura.
People still play Gura.
But triple Gura is a scary motherfucker to see.
Yes, triple Gura has about, depending on what your deck state is, if you're in a rough deck state, triple Gura, I think the math was like just...
Oh, you could easily close people from 2.
From 2-0.
I think it was consistently closing somebody from 2-2 with triple Gura is not hard to do.
The math was in your favor. Very good in your favor to close from 2-2, 2-3.
There was quite a few games I remember playing and dying from 2-2, 2-3.
Yes. Triple Gura, notoriously probably one of the strongest English finishing boards outside of anything that is Tokyo Revengers, which is not on the ban list, so we will not talk about them today.
Although, we'd like to let everyone know that Braden thinks it is very degenerate.
I think that regardless of how you build Tokyo Revengers, the deck is toxic. So, Gura, another toxic finisher. Burn 2, and then mill 1 if it's a soul trigger, burn 1, mill 1 if it's a soul trigger, burn 1. 4 damage. So technically the ceiling is the same as a burn 4. However, being split up into 3 separate instances of damage, on top of being in a deck that runs far too many soul triggers for a Weiss deck.
Well, I was going to say there is a chance that you whiff some of those triggers, but when you have what was the average soul trigger count for a Gura deck? About 30.
I think it was 30.
32.
It's like 30 to 32.
Because if you really wanted, I think there were lists that could bump that up to 36.
Yeah, if you went really high on your 3s and like maybe like 1/1s or something in there, you could get it up there.
Well, there was some people that if you weren't running the Mori, wasn't there a way that you could jam pants and something?
So yes, a lot of people
get those big numbers, but you're kind of sacrificing the low end.
So yeah, people typically ran that. So when this deck got banned, so before it got banned, people were on standby.
Standby Gura.
Yeah, you would run 2 copies of Ozki combo with the 4 standbys. The standby is another soul trigger on it. That was a mistake. The Ozki was a +1, could search for the Gura like immediately, and like you just stood by out the stock generators, and you just kind of spun wheels and didn't do anything, and 8 damage to the face. So you always hit 3 first, and then you would coin flip your opponent to death from wherever they were at level 2. That was the degenerate one in the team season. For Worlds that season, it changed to be more of the Kali level 1 combo into Gura. Kali provided you a lot of stability, a lot of deck speed, selection. It swung as a level 1 combo, so it like turned your game from less of this do-nothing game into more of just a 1k1 beatdown deck that also just happened to run 30 soul triggers. A lot of people don't know, but you could run the Mume combo, and it technically was the same soul trigger count as the Gura, and you didn't need to splash yellow. You still splashed yellow because you wanted the 2-1 Ame stock accelerator.
Well, and that was a big reason why people would kind of gravitate towards the Mori.
Yep. And Mori's just a better combo in general. Plus, Mori can grab herself off triggering the choice, which is pretty handy at some times. Plus, the level 1 Brainstorm with the Soul Trigger was also yellow, so you were in yellow anyways.
You're going to be in yellow anyway because you wanted the IMA.
Stock Swap's also in yellow. All the good stuff's in yellow. Full power Gura better than a lot of stuff right now? Honestly, I think it's really difficult still in this format to resolve triple Gura.
Especially if you're doing standby Gura, because there's a lot of decks that have Zone Lock.
Yeah, a lot of stuff's going to hate on you if you run standby Gura.
Because I remember when we did teams, our teammate who was running Gura that particular season, he was getting stun locked.
Yep. Notably, Hololive has one of the best standby lockdown cards in Arachno Trainer Hachima. Easy one of to run in any Hololive deck. Level 0 on play and on death. Choose a zone with an early play and it can't move. Really shuts down a lot of standby stuff. So it was really good into the standby Gura mirror. I notably used it a lot during that season when I was on standby Gura, when that was a thing. Would 1k1 Gura piles be really good? I don't think they'd be as good as they were back in the day. I think a lot of the other stuff in the format kind of would prevent you from being able to amass the resources that you had.
You think that the format right now pressures Gura enough that it's hard to be able to commit a full triple finisher board?
Getting the 3 on the board I don't think is the problem. Getting the 3 on the board with the stock in the hand I think would be the problem.
Yeah, so it's too resource demanding right now.
Triple Gura was already a very resource intensive finisher.
Because you played the deck, so
yeah,
what was your threshold?
Let's see. Gura is pay 2, ditch 8 card, and you need to have 6 or less hand, I believe. So you need 8 stock, 9 stock, 10 stock.
I was going to say 10 stock.
For the triple.
Full hand.
Yeah, 10 stock, almost whole hand for the triple. Yeah, that was what it was. Which Hololive could get there. If you gave them the turns, they were going to be there. They had the selection for it, definitely. And they had the stock generators for it as well, especially in a deck that was running choice like that. But yeah, getting triple Gura, because your deck was so locked into the Soul Trigger stuff, you could not run a lot of the other stuff to help you get there faster or to get there more consistently. You had to run a high count of Ina Climax Swap because you wanted the Soul Trigger, a high count of the of level 3s because you wanted the Soul Triggers, high count of your Brainstorm was a 1-0 because it has a Soul Trigger. You just ran these slightly, not suboptimal, but slightly less optimal choices than what you could have had to build up the resources for Gura, just to have the Soul Triggers for Gura. I do think there's a world where you actually forfeit some of those Soul Triggers and you run some other cards without Soul Triggers and you go for not the max range Gura stuff, specifically some of the memory condition stuff. I do think that deck could have been pretty scary, but Gura got hit before people could really cook that.
I was going to say, when did the Gura, the restriction come before we got the second set?
Gura is set 2.
Gura is set 2. So yeah. Did we have the premium booster?
We did not have premium stuff.
We didn't have premium yet. Okay.
Yep, this is all pre-premium.
Really?
Yep.
So Gura was set 2.
Yeah, Gura is set 2.
Okay. For some reason in my head, I always thought she was set 1.
Yeah, there was no Hollow EN in Hololive 1.
That's right. It was the big. We got the big Chungus set in EN.
Yep.
Okay. Well, let's move off of Gura.
Yep.
So you can
somebody
talk about the last bit of this nonsense.
Yep. So because Gura was doing so well, they had to hit the 8 standby deck as well.
I think one of those cards pretty much goes into any Hololive list.
Yes,
so.
you could, in theory, run Mio in everything, and it makes it better.
I mean, she's one of those cards. It's just like, why aren't you running it?
Exactly. Yeah, Mio as a profile is just that good. Moking yourself 2 on an on-play, on-death drop search, especially in a standby deck, is an insane amount of utility and value.
Shit's broken.
It is, in fact, broken.
That's why it's here.
That's why it's here. Luna is probably one of just, like, the best beat stick singular cards, like, printed. 11-5, level 0 on board, can't be sided.
When it reverses, it's...
Ditch a card to burn one. And then it also has, when it's front attacked, you can surveil one. So, surveil, for those of you unfamiliar with Magic lingo, is look at the top card of your deck and put it on top or in the grave.
Yes, in the future, we would like to inform the listeners that you may hear Braden refer to things from Magic and these nonsensical Weiss terms intermittently.
Yes.
So,
I use the jargon.
the man loves his jargon.
Please refer to Pittsburgh Weiss Schwarz jargon video for a good rundown of jargon from about 5 years ago.
But Luna.
So Luna, big baby, is the biggest baby. Being level 0 on board.
Despite the fact that she's not.
Yep, exactly. Forever 0 years old. That's Luna's lore, by the way.
But she's a big 3.
She's a big level 3.
She's treated as a 0, though.
Yeah, on board she's a 0, so you cannot early play bomb or anti-change her.
But you can 0 bomb.
You can, in fact, 0 bomb her, which, funny enough, during the time that Luna would have been really good, like you would think when right before she got hit, there was actually quite a few sets running zone bombs, notably Chainsaw Man, Bocchi the Rock, 8 standby Hololive mirrors, or all running good zone bombs at high counts. 7 Deadly Sins was another one with good zone bombs. A lot of these sets actually had good outs to Luna, and by extension Ayakashi Triangle as well, just as a quick side note for that one. It's my baby right there. But yeah, Luna being a level 0 means you need different tech to answer than you would other big standby targets.
Well, I mean, that's not to say that you couldn't big body Luna.
Yes.
It's just really hard in the standby list.
Yeah, so Luna forcing the front. 8 standby Hololive notoriously has tap counter as well that you cannot avoid if they have 2 Lunas on the board. They force you to front one, and then they will tap down the other one. One of the spicier techs that I like to run in my 8 standby Hololive lists is the can't be reversed, can't deal auto damage counter. The Gen 0 event. That's quite rude to drop on people. The other big thing with Luna is that if you know your opponent's playing Chainsaw Man, Bocchi the Rock, Escanor, or any of these other things with threatening zone bombs, you can just pivot and play the Global 15 Oz-Key and just have the actual big standby target as well. Because that card is also good and also burns one and also scries one at the end of your turn.
So, for the sake of the discussion, though, why is it a choice between these 2 cards?
Yes, so the reason these 2 is these were the 2 big players of the standby deck. Japan has a far more significant hit to this deck than we do in English. This is a light tap. However, it is a very effective hit to the 8 standby deck. Luna is just the best target to put out for standby. It stabilizes your endgame super consistently. It enables all of your defensive counterplay. Mio is the best standby enabler that a deck could really ask for outside of Foolish Burial. In fact, this is probably just as good as Foolish Burial, if not better, in terms of enabling standby triggering. And like keeping your stock clean and keeping things in grave and keeping things in your hand. It always gets what you want right when you want it, pays out the standby when you trigger it. As well as being a level 0, the standby decks notoriously before the hit were running Ozki and Polka. Polka's combo picks up a card whose level is equal to your memory, the number of cards in your memory, and you didn't build any memory in the traditional 8 standby Hololive deck into the mismatch one, not the Gen 5 exclusive one. So you would just always pick up a level 0 card, and the best level 0 card to pick up was always Mio. So you would just constantly loop Mio, Polka, Mio, Polka, Mio, Polka. You would get the stand and swap out. You would get the frontal 15 assist out, and then eventually you would get Luna out. And then you would just sit on it forever and not die. And you would chip out the game and win. Kind of similar to how some of the other stallier decks chip out games, stuff like Nikke. You could go for like finisher power because you do have a suite of off finishers because you're Hololive. You have access to off finishers. You have access to stock swaps still. So you have access to all of these other things that you could just get out. Or you could play another game where you're aiming to just untap for another turn. So it was very consistent, very strong. It was a very strong contender for that format.
The fact that Luna's sitting across the board, that you could technically die on your turn if you're trying to, crash in for damage.
Yep. Luna is one of those cards that does kill you on your own turn. We don't see as many of those actually see play. Notably, out of the stuff we've talked about, Quince actually does go for that nowadays. They do have burn 2 counter. And they will play it. But yeah, you don't see a lot of decks trying to kill you on your own turn. The other recent example was 7 Deadly Sins set 1 with the Meliodas combo.
Well, there's another set on this list that has some
interaction.
Some interactions that kill you on your turn, and technically you could kill people on their own turn with Nikke. If you're running Sin.
Yes, Sin is technically.
Although Nikke's not on the ban list.
Nikke is not on the ban list.
Nikke can kill you on your own turn.
Yes, Sin is on your turn, which is a technicality kind of instead of it's like yes, it is their turn because they have to untap the unit.
They have to untap, but before they draw,
you can
pay 5.
You can pay 5 to rest it and burn for its soul.
Yep. So generally, I'd imagine people between the choice on the Hololive list, they probably go for Mio most of the time.
For 8 standby, you still play Luna.
You still play the Luna? Okay.
Yep.
Every other deck just takes Mio.
Yeah, every other deck. If you really want a drop searcher, and a lot of decks kind of do, you'll take the Mio.
Well, and not every deck's going to run Luna.
Yeah, most decks typically don't run Luna. You need to be in standby to run Luna.
So if this was off the ban list,
if this was
full power standby,
I think it is still slightly weaker than, say, a full power standby Quince. I think it's a very strong competition for that. I think they are probably the same tier spot. I don't think it's the best deck in the format. I think it would still kind of like have a rough time into something like an Overlord. Just because the Luna's not online when Ainz would be afraid of anti-change counter. I don't think I think it still kind of like loses that matchup in a sense from like full power Overlord. And then I think some other decks can again still swing under. The ability to hold up tap counter, threaten tap counter with only 1 stock and a full hand, which it's a debate if you'll have full hand with Standby Hololive. If the game's going well, you can. If the game's going poor and you're like really burning with the Luna, then you won't have tap counter.
I mean, that's not much of a take. I mean, if your game's going well, generally you're sitting on full hand.
You're sitting on full hand.
You're burning them. You're throwing hand away.
Yeah, you're burning them.
If you don't have to replace cards on the board, and if you're ahead, why the hell would you spend resources to
do anything?
To do anything.
Yep.
You just sit there.
Because I gotta find that next standby.
Listen, we're not talking about full greed playing here.
Yep.
You can do that.
You can do that.
That's a choice.
Mm-hmm. The big thing with Luna is that it ditches cards. It has to ditch a card to burn one when it gets a reverse, and that can conflict costs with tap counter. Depends on the game, depends on what you're playing into, but it's like I do think 8 Standby Hololive is probably even with this hit, I think it's like the number 4 deck in the format right now. I think it's the strongest 8 Standby deck in the format. Nikkei I think is slightly better than 8 Standby Hololive, being a 4 Standby deck.
I was going to say Nikkei's a half standby deck, but Nikkei also
a hybrid.
has Nikkei's a hybrid, but it also has all of those options that I don't think the Hololive 8 standby list does have.
Mm-hmm. Funny, I have built this. I have built Salvage Standby Hololive, where you play it almost identically to Nikkei, because Chloe is basically just Modernia. That swings bigger without a soul trigger, but is smaller on defense. You have the same frontal level 2 assist. You have tap counter. You both have tap counter. Your Luna is pretty comparable to an Alice in terms of like pushing damage and output and everything. You've got good anti-change. You've got good early play healer. And the deck does work, funny enough. You have the Brainstorm that gives the check 2 effect to your level 1 combo. So it's a Chloe Luna deck. It's a Chloe standby deck. It's really funny that it does work. The only difference is that your standby doesn't burn 4, but how often do you go for biscuit burns in Nikkei? It's maybe once a game, maybe.
Arguably,
maybe
most any of these decision trees is how is the game going? What's the deck stay look like?
Exactly.
Because we could talk about the game that we had in locals the other day, and I did go for the biscuit burn.
You went for the biscuit.
Because the biscuit burn was going to kill you. Unfortunately, the biscuit burn did not kill you because you canceled on 3.
Yep.
But
canceled on 4 over refresh.
But, at the same time, biscuit's still not a bad healing option.
Yep, biscuit's a very good stabilizing option. It's a board stabilizer.
It's very sticky on the board with that hand-on core.
Yep, and it stabilizes your damage in exchange for hand, which is really good in that deck. So I think with everything unbanned, I think Hololive would still be tied for the number 1 standby deck with 8 standby Quints. I think it's pretty close. The next one, we've got Chainsaw Mid.
Chainsaw Mid. He's got some strong opinions apparently on this one.
I think full power Chainsaw is a very strong deck.
Well, I will argue, since we're probably going to talk about the finisher Aki first.
Yes.
Watching a man with literally almost no board build triple finisher Aki from nothing is insane.
Yep. So Aki is limited to 2.
For good reason.
For good reason, just to curb the consistency of triple finisher. Aki was not the scariest part of Chainsaw. I think the other hit is actually far more impactful than the Aki hit. However, the Aki hit does hurt the deck in that the range of the finisher
is drastically reduced.
Because
you can. We saw Chainsaw Man in teams
quite a bit,
and I even ran into it in singles. A couple of people were still running, post ban Chainsaw, and it was still doing pretty all right.
Yep. So, Aki limited to 2.
Icy Tail 6 off the bottom and burn 1 for each climax with how many checks can they do based on easy revenges?
They can look at 1 per easy revenge.
But
so it's an Icy Tail 4.
Oh, it's Icy Tail 4.
Yeah, and you look at a card before and after with each easy revenge. So if you have all 4 easy revenges, you could look at up to 4 cards from the bottom. You can look at 1 at a time from the bottom of their deck and move it or keep it there. And it was really good because when you had fully unrestricted, you could easily get triple Aki with 3 to 4 easy revenge. And you could effectively go through 24 cards of your opponent's deck to find climaxes. But the real nasty part was you could look at, say, 2, find the climax, stop the easy revenges, do the Icy Tail, and then once the Icy Tail resolved and the burns resolved,
and keep finishing.
Look at 2 more to set up the next one. So
And then if you still didn't find anything,
You
the
could
next
look at
Aki's still gonna.
the next
still
Aki
digging.
looks at, like, again, 4 more, or if you had three more, and so on and so forth. So limiting Aki to 2 significantly reduces the range and consistency of the finisher to deal. It goes from, like, dealing like an average of, like, 5 burn ones, like 4 or 5 burn ones, to like 2, 3, 4 burn ones. High roll if it gets 4. Yeah, pre-ban Aki could, like, deal 5, 6 burn ones, because you also get, like, a refresh in there. It's just so much burn one. And then it has hand on core, so if you don't kill them, it just does it again. The other hit is a choice 1 of 2 between the bottom deck bomb that searches for easy revenge, or I believe it bonds to easy revenge. I don't remember if it was grave or deck. I think it was deck. And then the climax combo, which sacked the stock soul, looked at 3, took 2 of them, and then was a check 3 spammable check 3 brainstorm. So the deck was incredibly consistent at looping the stock soul combo. It would leverage this bomb to get the easy revenges, all of them online basically as quickly as, like, the second or third turn of level 1. Had a massive stock generation package. The deck was so flexible that it would run, like, to just have, like, a good level 1 body board, it would run the Kishibes, which, if you had all 3, sat at 10k defensively, but you couldn't play events or backups. That didn't matter, because you just kept slamming the stock soul over and over again, and you just sat on it until they cleared it. I was never a fan of Kishibe as an option. I preferred having the on reverse card to, like, ditch 1, salvage 2, or ditch 1, search 2. Or leaning heavier into just jamming zeros and more zeros and more zeros, and just swinging under and out resourcing the opponent.
Well, and the other thing with Chainsaw Man is it can move through cards in the deck.
Yeah, it moves
so fast.
It moves a lot of cards,
and
very
you can see
quickly.
that in not just the bar profile. I ran into I think it was 8 choice one time.
Mm-hmm.
And watching a man move through 25 clean cards in a turn is very demoralizing.
Yep.
And the fact that he could do that on loop, practically.
Basically. Chainsaw Man has a lot of main phase action. It can take a lot of game actions in main phase to achieve whatever it really wants.
Well, when you can move through that many cards,
Yeah.
you get so many triggers.
Yep, you get a lot of different effects off that. You get a lot of value. And it led to some games, especially when we had Triple Aki. It led to games where it's like, oh, I just got my board blown up by Overlord or something. Well, let me just recoup everything. Let me find the line to, like, get everything. It's like, oh, I'll grab 1 easy revenge, which grabs my brainstorm that I can then send to memory, find the Aki, Aki salvages Aki, Aki salvages Aki, Aki salvages
Whatever you need.
whatever, like, salvages the back row piece. It's like, oh, I also use the Rico effect, the Kobeni, to then grab, like, so, like, yeah, you use that third Aki to grab the 2/1 Future Devil. I use Kobeni to grab the 0 piece, the actual Future Devil, and I use Aki to grab the 2/1 other Aki, so I now have the full Aki Future Devil thing built up on my board. And it's like, it refunds me a stock. It's like, and it just keeps going and takes actions and actions. Like, oh, I need to draw the climax. Let me check 3 brainstorm. Let me check 3 brainstorm a second time. Okay, let me ditch 2 cards, look at 2, put 1 to hand and 1 to stock, and then spam another 3 on my brainstorm. It lets you take so many actions to try and build up this board state.
Generally speaking, if you're whiffing with Chainsaw Man, it's probably a skill issue.
It's probably a skill issue. Something that's not on this list that I think is really strong in Chainsaw, and why I think it's still a very playable deck, just not like the most flashy deck. I think Aki to 2 keeps it down just enough with this choice restriction. Is the power level 0. I think power 0. So we currently have in English the number 1 deck in the non-banned format is Bang Dream, which is notorious for leveraging this level 0 profile that stuns a card on play, gains 3,000 power, so it's a 3/5, and then it can eat a character on your board when it attacks to top check for a character and add it to hand. We call that profile 0-2 from the Darling and the Franck set in JP, which did that on a level 1 profile. Some more jargon for you. That profile is incredibly strong, especially on a 0 that has any other line of text on it. But the capacity for power level 0, instead of eating the card for a character, it just sends the card to stock. It doesn't top check for anything. It just sends the card to stock. Just on attack, choose a character on board, send it to stock. That's a lot of stock that this deck can leverage very quickly. On top of the fact that your combo that you're usually playing is a stock soul combo. That's a very quick, like 5-6 stock turn. Just like out of nowhere. That can be done at 0. And that's like fully recurable, fully loopable. Keeps your, like, it not only does it like accelerate your stock, it like accelerates clean stock as well, which is like another huge thing.
So, how does unbanned Chainsaw Man look?
Unbanned Chainsaw, I think, is not as strong as some of the best decks in the format. I think it's
easily a top contender for...
It's a very strong contender. I don't think it's as strong as 7 Deadly Sins at full power.
But let's just... Against the current meta.
Against the current meta...
If the only thing that was unbanned was Chainsaw...
I think it's probably the number 2 deck right behind Bang Dream.
Because I imagine this deck eats Ainz.
Yeah, this deck does not care about Ainz
it doesn't
at all.
Give a rat's ass what Ainz is doing. You could argue situationally into Nikkei.
Yep, so like Nikkei, I could see some stuff.
Bunny Girl, I think they're basically kind of just doing the same thing in a sense.
It's like I think Chainsaw Man just builds resources faster at full power,
and it's a lot harder to clear Aki off the board.
Mm-hmm.
With that.
I think full power Chainsaw is one of the reasons you need to have stock swap in your deck, because the deck can stabilize so quickly and get out of control, and you just never deal damage again. Even without this ban list, with this ban list, this deck is notorious for suddenly reaching deck states, like very quickly and suddenly reaching deck states where it's just not going to eat damage anymore. You got to be careful going to time sometimes if you're like actually dropping the healers as well. It's very strong in that sense. Should anything else be hit? No.
You already mentioned the power, so...
Yeah, it's like, I don't think power should be hit, though. I think this is, like, right where it should be. Maybe, like, if we see some more stronger stuff come out, or if we see other stuff come off the list, I think eventually the choice restriction could come off. I think Aki will stay at 2 for a very long time, very similar to Mai and Gura. Yeah.
Do you think which of the choice cards do you think would be the least problematic to take off? Say they took one of them off and say...
So currently people play the combo and the Brainstorm is what people play. The exception being if you're running the 8-bar list and trying to go with Katana Man.
Nobody's doing that.
I fought that at regionals.
I reiterate, nobody is doing that.
I fought that at regionals with like 4 or 5 wins. This was the problem.
Oh god.
With like 4 or 5 wins. Yeah, because it was like my second to last round of regionals, and I was a X1. So yes, again, like I iterated, the deck can go into deck states where it just doesn't eat damage anymore. But yeah, most people...
Funny enough, I think that's true for a lot of Chainsaw Man decks. Like I said, when I was fighting against 8 choice and watching the man move through 25 clean
and it's
cards.
like there's nothing stopping 1K deck from running power and just getting like 6 stock in a turn, 5-6 stock in a turn.
Well, and reasonably speaking, the 1-0 power
1-0 power
really
is also
good.
Yep, 1-0 power is not as well positioned as it used to be. Notably, it was very good into stuff like slime and. I think
she's
Alice,
a level 2 killer, correct?
She is a natural level 2 killer.
So she would be a good matchup against Slime or Alice.
Like Alice, if Alice wasn't broken beyond belief. The big thing with level 2 killers, and my big issue with them as a profile right now, is that the big level 2 to kill for the longest period of time was, in fact, Miron. And Miron was more than willing to drop a backup. And Miron sat bigger still than a lot of the level 2 killers, even with you needed additional pump.
Yep.
And that was stupid. Miron, with the global hexproof and power, was a mistake.
So do you want to move over to another English exclusive?
Yeah, so we talked about this earlier when we talked about IMA, but Sokka was, in fact, a massive mistake. It should have been errataed or banned way earlier. The moment they banned the IMA, I think Sokka should have been banned. Because IMA was banned before we even got the set. For
and I think it makes a difference, too, when JP gets stuff before we do. Being Avatar is a English exclusive...
Yes.
We are the guinea pigs for the set.
Yeah, we are the guinea pigs. However, we knew about Sokka on day 1.
The odd thing is Sokka really didn't.
Sokka did not take
steam
off for
quite a minute.
No, Avatar took a minute to get going because people had to learn what to do with the Sokka, and how to really leverage that into advantage in a game of Weiss Schwarz without going neutral. Because technically, if, like, say, Sokka does a swing at 1, like you do an extra Sokka swing at 1, you took a damage for that, it's stock neutral. So if they canceled, you effectively pinged yourself 1 for quote-unquote nothing. In reality, you got an extra instance of damage in a swing out, and a swing for 2 is far more likely to stick, especially early, making it far more likely that Sokka actually goes positive. So and you just kept rolling that dice over and over and over again.
Well, the big play was usually you waited until your closing turn and just went absolutely ham.
Yeah, the finisher play with Sokka was stupid. And very non-interactive, actually, because you could choose your opponent's characters and tell them that they can't play events or backups. In fact, it was required for the combo, I believe. You needed the back row.
Yes, you do need the 2-1 Mai.
Yep.
Or no, sorry, Ty Lee.
Ty Lee. Yeah, it was the Ty Lee. But yeah, the fact that you could then stand by, like if you had the Ty Lee, you could then stand by out a Sokka to the back row, and what do you know? Your deck's live again. For those of you who do not know what this does, so Sokka is an on play and on death. Pay 1, put a card from your grave into your clock to spawn a cost 0 of your level or lower to the board. And for very similar reasons to the IMA that we discussed earlier, Avatar has multiple ways to kill that Sokka in their battle step to then spawn things at standing. The big difference here, and why like multiple sets don't have this, is that normally on death Rikis have the text that when they spawn something, it spawns in at rest.
Sokka doesn't.
Sokka, because he is also an on-play effect, was oversighted to spawn in standing, because an on-play spawn Riki that spawns in at rest would be useless. And nobody would play it. So they thought they could get fancy by dual timing it, and then they
realized it's broken.
And then they realized it was, well, I don't know, it took them a minute to ban Sokka. So it took a minute for this to to catch on, but effectively what happens is both the 2-1 or the 2-2 standby target and the 3-2 standby combo have the ability to eat a character. The 3-2 combo notably on reverse, so it's already after the damage step. And this was the big play, was you would eat a character to put the reverse character on top of your opponent's deck and then burn 3. What you would then do is you would eat your Sokka as that cost. You would get your stack and burn 3. You have an open lane now and a Sokka death trigger. So Sokka would then punch yourself, search for another Sokka, spawn it in the open lane, and now you had an open swing for 2 and another Sokka to eat off the next Ozila lane. And then there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with this loop. If you trigger a standby, you could put another Sokka on the board. You could Sokka over a Sokka. You could have Sokka in the back row that you could eat, that you could also play. The 2-2, if you triggered a standby, which also this was 8 standby, because they had the 4 copies of the Aang elements in there that gained every type of trigger. So you were 8 bar, 8 standby, and because you had the standby in play for most of the stuff, you were 8 standby. The Sokka... So if you like triggered a standby and you had the 2-2 on the board already, you could standby Sokka from your grave over the 2-2, and then hand encore the 2-2 back over the Sokka, and boom, you've procced a Sokka on death trigger again, and you got another attack off of it. So all types of plays that you could make. The optimal line, I believe, with like without extra stuff like going into a refresh or anything, you had like 11 to 12 instances of damage at the finisher board for 2s, and some of those 2s were actually 3s because they stacked the reverse character. So lots and lots of damage getting thrown out. Triggering standbys only extended stuff. People will say that Sokka was not a problem. Sokka was entirely a problem. Entirely deserved to get hit. Well,
that deck could swing how many times? If you had the optimal line,
it's 11 instances of damage, and that's assuming you don't refresh the deck mid-combo.
And that's generating stock as well.
Yes. So yeah, stock. So every Sokka you resolve is stock neutral as long as you're attacking with the card that you're spawning. So you could keep going.
Kill yourself.
Yeah, literally as long as you did not kill yourself, you could keep going with the Sokkas. It was So I think the typical line was 11 instances of 2 was the in-game board, and 3 of those instances were 3s. Were 3s disguised as like 2s because you stacked. So Sokka entirely deserved to get hit. You have another Clock Plus in Avatar. I know this discussion still comes out that Sokka should not be banned. Yes, they could have eroded it, or they could have made it 2 separate effects so that it would have been balanced. Like it's easier just to ban the card. Like Avatar, I think, is still a decent enough deck. So similar to Aime, if you unrestricted Sokka, I think this is like instantly climbs right up to the top of the tier list. There's very, very little decks that can interact with this. You need stuff is like very large standby boards that can defend like 13 5s,
or something that punishes you, like the Lunas. For crashing.
Well, it was like the big thing is that you need to be bigger than like 13-5 defensively without backup or counter. So something like a Luna can get there, and Luna can help mitigate damage. Slime was notably one of the very few decks that could like hard counter this. Because they are hexproof, they could not have backups turned off, and then they could back up and stop the on reverse proc. Yeah, there wasn't a lot to do.
Or the other thing that you could do, if I'm not mistaken, was if the situation was right, you could kill your entire board into their board, so you had open lanes going into their turn.
Yep, funny, they actually had counterplay for this too, though. If they saw you prepping this, they could proc a Sokka on, I don't know if they don't think they had sack anti-change counter, or like a counter that killed their own character. They might have. They might have had a backup that killed one of their own characters.
I'm not entirely familiar.
But I know there was a play line where if something died, or like you could proc a Sokka and then spawn the JC so that you couldn't crash into one of their units, and they would always have a reverse target. Or it's like they could have JC and a thing in the front row, so you would just JC two things out, and they would always have at least two reverses if they played it and like called the shot, which is disgusting and gross.
So we'll say unbanned Avatar with Sokka, tier 0.5.
Yeah, it's like a tier 0.5. It's not as strong as the Aime one, just because Sokka cannot do it at like they can get multiple procs at 1, at like level 1 and like 0 and 1.
Well, and it's not as...
But they're not trigger reliant at level 1, and like IMA just goes, does the full thing, and then it can just do it again. Like the moment they have IMAs back in deck, they just do it a second time.
Well, and you have to ping yourself with Sokka, so
yeah,
you're slowly
Sokka,
killing yourself.
Yeah, IMA just says I'm swinging for 2-3 more times, and you get to live with that fact.
So moving off of Avatar, we're going, since it was mentioned multiple times, and we keep mentioning it multiple times, we're going to talk about Slime.
So we've got Slime. They've had one of these cards on the restriction list for a very long time, or like on their choice.
And two relatively newer.
And then, well, it's like one of these is actually very recent, and then the choice restriction has existed for, the choice 2 was around for a minute. But we have the Shizu level 1 combo, we have the Miron level 2 combo, and then we have the Bonder to the Miron. At the rate they're going, Slime will be out of 1-0s, of blue 1-0s, in like a year or two. They will have no more good blue 1-0s. And they probably deserve it.
Damn, tell me how you really feel.
Yep. So most of the stuff for Slime, it's just finding a climax combo to get you into Miron, looping Miron into some type of off-finisher board. Miron is notably 10-5, 2-1 combo that rips a card out of your deck and then puts a card from your waiting room into your stock when you play the Pants. Pants being quite loopable. It's in multiples, usually 3 is what they're getting or going for. Ripping 3 cards out of your deck and then generating 3 clean stock. The first one just refunds the whole combo itself and sets itself up for the next turn. The problem is that Miron is one of the stickiest units we've ever seen in Weiss Schwarz, even more than cards with Hand Encore, because the package that people decided to play with Miron out of the same set was the Search Brainstorm and the 2-1 assist that provides global power and hexproof, which means Miron is a 12k hexproof body. Is it 12 or 12.5? I think it's 12k.
I think it's 12k.
Yeah, it's 12k.
I remember when I was playing Dragon Maid pretty consistently, the only thing I could possibly do to deal with Mirons
like
was
2 killer plus
the
pump
memory
plus climax.
kicker.
Oh yeah, the memory kicker.
Memory kicker was about the only thing I would do to try and get rid of those little bastards.
Yep.
Because that's about, realistically speaking, that's like the only way that I knew of to get rid of her.
Yep. Because, yeah, I was using in Hololive the 2-1 Anya that had the ability to grab my salvage climaxes, swung at 12-5, no events, no backups, and that was exactly 500 over with the climax.
But yeah, it is a pain when you're looking at 3 Mirons in the front row.
Yeah,
it's a lot like another card we talked about on this list. You just can't get rid of them.
Yep, you just can't get rid of them. So the second turn of Miron is one of the most abusive turns in Weiss, just because it's open swings for like 3-3-3 or 3-3-4. They ripped 3 more clean cards out of their deck. They now have anything they want in their hand out of their deck. They have Grave Access because they run Helmet and other stuff in there. The reason why things are banned here, the Shizu combo is by far the best level 1 combo in Slime. It's a cigarettes on pants that when it is reversed, you can top check if it's a traded character, which the whole set is, or an event, specifically the mask event, which is the only one you would really run at this time. It goes to memory for free, effectively, as long as you hit a player skill check of a top check.
Free compression.
Free compression in a set that notoriously has a lot of good memory cards. So that was the strongest level 1 combo that they could run.
So as an aside, it was needless to say, Braden got very excited when Azure 2 came out with a memory hate card.
Yes, memory hate cards are really good. They were really good into old Slime. New Slime does not run as much memory compression as it used to,
Well, because
thankfully.
from this list, most all the Slime decks aren't running the Shizu combo.
No, they're not. Usually, if you see Shizu, you're seeing like Pants Choice, or like an 8 Pants or Pants Book. Obviously, you can't run Miron, so it changes your deck entirely. Usually, they're memory spam packages at that point, aiming for the sticky early play healer and just an incredible amount of memory, and then they're just going to sit on Potion Maker in the back row to try and heal and jam early play healers into random off finishers, or the book finisher, or burn 4 finisher, or restander.
I was going to say, I've seen quite a bit of restander with, paired with the Shizu combo.
Yep. They also have like a pretty cheap burn 2 finisher as well, if you just want like a burn 2.
And about the Bonder then?
So the Bonder was the most recent addition to this choice restriction. Slime was converting still incredibly hard, and for some reason the English format did not want to hit the hexproof like they did in JP. So they
That's interesting. I didn't know JP hit the Sakura.
Yep. JP has hit the let's see, I can actually pull up the list.
Man, you were unprepared.
I know.
You keep bringing up the JP list, and you didn't even have it on hand.
I know. All right, here we go. The JP list has a choose one of 4, where they hit the Shizu combo, the back row hexproof assist, Miron herself, and they also recently, this is their most recent one, they hit the Benimaru off finisher
for the Miron.
For the Miron decks.
Okay, so
well, it's all of them.
So EN
We can
English
still
got
play
the
it.
Bonder, but JP did not.
Yep, so JP can still play Bonder plus Miron. They just can't play Benimaru as the primary finishing choice.
Okay.
Which means their lists are far more crippled than ours are. A, not having the hexproof. B, being in a much more aggressive standby format. And
C, not having Benimaru.
And yeah, not having your easiest finisher profile. It means you have to make a lot of concessions if you want to run Miron. And reasonably so, we don't see a lot of slime out of JP anymore. We actually did see some slime out of JP with the even before without the hexproof, just because the Miron was just getting enough value.
Listen, man, you can't lead up a statement with "we're not getting enough slime out of JP," followed with "but we were."
We were before the Benimaru hit.
Okay, I follow what you're saying. So English, I'm not familiar with the Bonder because I don't think I remember seeing it that much.
Yep, so the Bonder, it's ditch ditch a card, search for Miron on play.
Disgusting.
On play. It's a 6K, and it has clean clock encore. So now you can't level lock them either. So yeah, if Slime went to like 1-5 or something and they didn't have the refresh online, they could play a Bonder over a Bonder, grab the last Miron probably, and then like clock Encore 1 over the other one, and then reclock Encore the other one, so they could like double clock themselves. Or, like they could do the this kind of happened with Hololive with like Kanata lists back in the day, you would play the Mika with Clock Encore, and you would self-Clock Encore yourself so you can get into your level 2 when you needed it. Very similar line of text, effectively, except instead of Kanata, which did almost the same thing here, you just went into Miron, so you can't get anti-change, and then you are also hex-proof, and...
I built a wall.
You built a wall. So, full power slime, Shizu plus Miron, with... They would only run like 1 to 2 copies of Bonder, probably in that list. But, if you could build Shizu Miron, how good would it be? I think it would be a pretty strong contender.
Well, I mean, we've seen slime stick around in the
Yep.
meta forever.
Notably, this is a very gross deck for some matchups. Notably, it like body standby decks. It like just is super resilient against Overlord. It's like the only true out to like Avatar with the hexproof. And Shizu would add a lot of consistency to the list. So I think it would be pretty strong. Level 0 stock swap is also in Slime. Kind of broken still.
Is there a deck how would this fare against like Bunny Girl or
Bunny Girl, Bang Dream? I think it would be really good into Nikke, funny enough, because you can't tap it,
right?
Or +6 soul it.
Then you'd have to work to get over it. So
Yeah, you would
Alice kick it.
You would need double Sin to like really start threatening, and then they're just gonna anti-change you, because they could just grab that. So it's just super resilient.
So into the Icy Tail decks, they might
Icy
even
Tail
fare
deck,
less.
yeah. So it's like notoriously Aki in 7 Deadly Sins had very good spreads and matchups into Slime. Being resource accumulation decks that also like weren't super afraid to stock swap, because the other thing with Slime, even though it has the stock swap, it's not 360 no scoping you for low damage, like a Hendrickson could, or a Mai could. Chainsaw Man didn't really go for that, but it still could get a lot of damage off against something like a Slime, just because of the burn ones.
Well, and Aki having hand on cores less, and the fact that they could just rebuild board from
Yeah,
practically nothing.
exactly. It only takes them having 1 extra Aki to like go, or if they hit the Brainstorm with the limit 2, just Brainstorm, grab the Aki back again.
So we'd say that it's strong.
It's strong. It's not the number one thing right now. I think Bang Dream is still stronger. But I think it's super well positioned. Like if you could give it Shizu.
I mean, how long has Slime been around?
Yeah, exactly. Slime's never been a bad deck to bring. Alright, this isn't exactly a ban list, but all the Fate cards have Excalibur in their card name, which means you can't run Excalibur Morgan with Excalibur with Excalibur.
It's a limit 4.
Yep.
I mean,
if you could run 8 Excalibur, it's not worth it, unfortunately.
it's not worth it. Trust me.
Yep. So in general, people aren't playing the double Soul Trigger one. We're seeing Salvage or Choice if you're running the Excaliburs.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, we're not going to talk about the JP ban list, but we've mentioned enough. The Fate ban list in JP is quite extensive.
Yes.
All we have is the errata text.
Yes, we
climaxes.
just have errata text for
but even
Excalibur.
Even still,
notably,
we don't have all those hits.
Notably,
we don't see Fate.
We do not see Fate right now. Fate's not very well positioned in the format. Notably, they don't have a good finisher really to go into. The best Neg-Soul is not a very good thing, but like that Neg-Soul is also not super well positioned right now. Saber or Rider Neg-Soul or Rider anti-front attack. There's enough random blink and like anti-change and other stuff where the set's dated in that sense. I think the 8-bar package is still really good. But I don't think that, or the combination of that plus like a clock kicker, is good enough really to close out games in the format. Funny, I do think if you're running Fate, you are attempting to either go for Gill Shot, which is hilarious, or you're trying to run the Excalibur level 3 combo, where you're trying to ditch 3 characters to on cancel, burn 3, burn 3. Bat can kill people.
Well, realistically speaking, too, if you do see Fate nowadays, it's generally going to be Camelot.
Yes, so that it is a different IP, funny enough. That set sucks. That deck is not on the ban list.
Well, there's good reasons why it's not on the ban list. Just like there's nothing from Babylonia on the ban list.
Exactly.
They're mediocre. Mostly because they don't interact. They don't have the great Fate tag that Stay Night and Zero and Heaven's Feel, all of them have, where they can all interact with each other.
They are not Neo Standard. We also we only have 1 Ilya set, so give us the other 2 Ilya sets, 3 Ilya sets.
It's not going to change anything, Braden.
Those decks are good. Green Ilya. The next one, the first English restriction, you cannot run Gorilla Grodd with Caravan trial, not trial deck, Caravan demo deck Infiltrator Batman.
But Gorilla Grodd's both is great.
Yep.
Why would we ban Gorilla Grodd?
Gorilla Grodd is actually a good and playable enough card, funny enough, without any Infiltrator Batman, the 1/0 or the 3/2/1. So this was the first English restriction. The story behind this is Gorilla Grodd is a 0/0 profile that has, when it is front attacked, you can pay 1 and bounce it back to your hand, and that's the cost. If you pay that cost, you may play this 1/0 6K Infiltrator Batman as the defending character from your hand. This is a profile, it's an old profile, but we have seen it before. I know like Two Love Rue has this profile. I think like Kill la Kill has this profile, I think, somewhere. Or is that... It's on Death.
I was going to say, all of the profiles that I can think of in Red Kill la Kill are on Death.
Yeah. Overlord has this in the off colors for set 1. So this is not a unique effect. The problem arises with the demo deck, which had a card called Infiltrator, or Batman Infiltration, the same name as the card text labeled on Gorilla Grodd, except Batman Infiltration from the demo deck is a 3/2 10k with heal 1 on play. Which means you could play Gorilla Grodd and you just sit there and tell your opponent, front attack me. And if they do, you get to heal 1 and have a 10k defending unit as early as their first attack step. So, obviously, they did not intend for this to happen. That is why it is restricted. Gorilla Grodd off the ban list. Batman Ninja is still a B- tier deck.
It's silly.
It's
but that's about it.
It's like, this deck is still not good, even with this without this restriction. Unfortunately, Batman Ninja is one of the worst. It is probably the worst English original set.
Are you sure?
Mob.
Is it worse than Mob?
I think Mob is a better set than Batman Ninja.
That's a take.
I think Mob is a better set than Batman Ninja.
We may talk about that in a later episode.
This might be a discussion for a later time.
We're gonna have an episode. We're gonna rank the English exclusive sets.
The English exclusive. That's actually a really fun video. All right,
but we're done with Batman.
We're done with Batman.
It's literally
Ninja.
just you can't Gorilla Grodd into a level 3.
You can't Gorilla Grodd into a 3.
If I'm not mistaken, you mentioned that there's another set that can just go hard into a level 3 at 0. Is that Tau?
So Data Life has a level 3 character that says if you're level 0, this card gets -2 level in hand and -3 level, -2 cost, and it like kills itself and then like punches yourself twice when it when it attacks or something.
Excellent. I love playing suicidal cards.
Yeah, it's designed so it kills anything at 0.
Because God, I hope so.
I really hope so. Like,
If I'm not clearing a 0 with a 3,
with a 3
we got questions.
but yeah, it's designed to like accelerate you into level 1 like instantly, almost. Like you just can't stop them from pushing it.
And I imagine if your opponent had a hard target that you just wanted cleared off the board,
yeah,
if it pushes damage because I'm sure it's a 2-soul.
Yeah, is it 2 or is it 3? It might be a 3-soul unit. I'd have to go check the actual card itself. But yeah,
we'll check the card facts later.
But yeah, it's a big 3/2. It comes down early. It pushes one big swing early. It's kind of
to say, it's fine because it's not good.
It's not good.
Unlike this.
Yeah, this is actually good because the 3/2 sticks around.
And now we're going to get to Braden's favorite part of the ban list.
I know.
The most broken deck, in his opinion. Well, that'll be after this one. That'll be the most broken deck.
So I think Hololive is the most broken deck ever printed in English in its own standalone set. This was pretty damn... And then followed by Avatar. This, I think, is the strongest, normal, intentionally designed Weiss deck. Alice. Full power Alice.
Which is from Sword Art Online.
Which is Sword Art Online. So Alice, in English, is the 2/1 itself is limited to 2 copies. If you've played Tokyo Revengers, you're probably familiar with this, but this was the first one to do it. I think. I actually don't know what the release order on that was. But basically, Alice is a 2/1, gains 1,000 X, and has the Climax combo. When you play the choice, choose 2 characters in your waiting room, put 1 in your hand and 1 in your stock. Very similar to Miron, very similar to a lot of these other 2/1 combos. The difference with Alice is it has the Tokyo Revenger Spawn card, which is a 1/0 Brainstorm that has on play Shuffle Back 2. When you shuffle back 2 for that cost, you can, I believe it's neg power to your opponent's board, to a spot on your opponent's board. And then that card has repeatable Brainstorm, mill 3. If you mill the 2/1, place it on your board. So the whole gimmick of this Sword Art Alice archetype was to run as many level 0 mill cards as physically possible to mill out almost your entire first deck while getting 1 to 2 copies of the back row of the Brainstorm. You would play the Brainstorm, shuffle back your 2 copies of Alice, Brainstorm once, spawn an Alice, play the second copy of Brainstorm, shuffle back 2 more Alice, Brainstorm again, play another Alice, and hopefully, if this wasn't banned, you would Brainstorm again to put the 3rd Alice on the board. And then, because this is like the first, your low level 1, you would sit on this 10-5 wall of Alice, and like you would just pick up a 1/1 3K counter and a 1/1 memory kick counter. As well as, if it called for it, you have a pretty good 2/1 anti-change counter. And you would just pick those up, and you would just sit on Alice, and you would attempt to draw the choice over and over and over again, and then you would farm out resources and go into any one of Sword Art's many finishers. Usually it was the choice finisher from the same set as Alice.
Was that the Kirito?
No, it was, what's their name? Argo. It was an Argo finisher. Or you would go into the Silica finisher, because the Silica checked X on play, which was also pretty good.
I need to say, if you cleared Alice's, they didn't stay dead.
Yes, they were more than willing to pay 3 on an Alice. If you could answer multiple Alices, the deck kind of fell apart. If you could establish your own board of Alice beforehand, you won the game.
So mirrors were incredibly boring.
Mirrors were incredibly boring and kind of toxic, because you would leave your opponent at 0. Like, you just wouldn't swing at 0. Both players would just sit there at 0, and the first person to swing would have the stock to play their first Brainstorm. The deck answered everything. It was faster than Standby at the time. And it was the... this was post-Data Live hit, so... And post-Mushoko hits. So... this was the strongest deck in the format. Slime had not gotten its support yet, so Miron did not exist quite yet. Miron was very quickly after this, but Miron does not come down at level 1. And this set basically ran a whole season of tournaments, of regionals. It was the deck to beat. People threw in specific answers for this set. Level 2 killers were very prevalent just because of Sword Art. Level 1 anti-change counter was a massive play for stuff like Konosuba, which was already not the best deck. But Data Live notably did have level 1 anti-change in green. I love 8-bar Data Live. We'll talk about Data Live in a minute. That's also another discussion for another day, or pet decks. But yeah, Alice was... It didn't play normal Weiss. You didn't beat it with normal Weiss. And it was incredibly overbearing on the format overall.
But the restriction, or the limited to 2...
The limited
pretty
2...
hard crippled the deck.
Yeah, so Japan had a different restriction on this. Japan banned the Brainstorm outright. So 0 copies of Brainstorm. So you could play this just like Miron, except it's just a double graveyard effect. Instead of Miron searching one, you just get both stock and hand from grave.
I still imagine that's too slow, though.
Yeah, because in JP it comes out at 2. So...
Well, it doesn't have all the fancy tech that Miron has either.
No, it doesn't.
Well, JP doesn't have that fancy tech, but...
Yeah, so... It's like, Sword Art has its own pile of tech. However, Sword Art also has other broken decks. Notably in Japan, another deck that got hit at very similar time is the Negsoul deck, because they had the cards to make that deck really strong. We are still short. We don't have the 10th anniversary of the light novel set. This is 10th anniversary of the anime. Yeah, the light novel set had like a choice 3 by itself before Alice even came out. It was kind of disgusting. So yeah, I think this at full power is like one of the strongest, like, intentionally designed sets that Weiss has ever seen. Nowadays, we're getting pretty close to the point where level 1 combos can tosslessly swing over this. Notably, Chainsaw Man, the choice power packages would actually clear this pretty handedly. Or at least force the backup so they don't get to farm the resources. They have to spend them on protecting the board.
Nikkei Alice, do you think?
I think it's too slow. It's too late by the time
it needs to be dealt with.
It needs to be dealt with. Because at that point, you've already crashed into it with Modernia. At least one whole turn cycle.
Yep.
And then, if you're pushing them to 2, that's the thing. So it's like 13. It's either 13 or 13-5 memory kick, or it's 13-5 count with the backup, which Alice does hit with like Sin and Pump and like double Sin and Pump and whatnot, or like back like the 2/2, the Sin and then a Pump. That's only one Alice, and they also have anti-change.
Yes.
So too little, too late type thing, and that was the biggest thing. Is like people couldn't answer this because like, oh, I have a 1/1 anti-change bomb, and that's like my best answer into this.
Okay, so what would you say then? This going into Ainz.
Ainz doesn't like this very much, just because it can't get the reverses at level 1. The Schultz here combo actually does not swing over Alice either.
A lot of things that don't.
There's not a lot that does. If Bang Dream ran a power pump, it could.
I was gonna say Bang Dream can get big, but
Bang Dream's power, maximum power, if you so it's a 6K, 7K with climax, changes 8K, and if you took the stock, it's 9K. So if you ran a power pump in Bang Dream, you could get over a singular lane of Alice. At that point, you're just swinging under with Bang Dream. So, a new Bang Dream has the level 1 anti-change, thankfully, so they can kind of, like, work with that. But, yeah, I think Alice... It's like, it's super toxic. I think it, like, does too much. I think it'd be overbearing still on... Like, it takes these other top decks in the format to compete with this. Like, one of the only things that does compete with this is actually Quince, is 8 standby Quince. Because their 2/2 swings over this. And they can, like, kind of line up multiple of these if they really wanted to.
And they don't have to worry about anti-change if they're at 2.
If they're at 2, well, so it's like you can swing with the first 2/2 first, and it's like, okay, I forced the counter out, whatever.
If you lose, you mean you still have hand-on core.
I have hand-on core. They would have to use the memory kick. However, if 8 standby Quince rips standby, they have their back row that pumps 3k every time they rip a standby. And that can start moving multiple lanes and recouping the board. So I think like that was like one of the only things that really could handle this, and I do recall that being a thing during this time, was like the 1/1 back row. So yeah, I think Alice, like I don't think Alice is ever coming off the list. I could see us getting the JP list, but I don't think it's ever coming off.
So now we're going to move to Braden's favorite set.
And
he knows a lot about why these... Well, there's only one thing left on the ban list, because the other 2 cards were unrestricted.
Yep.
But he was a very prominent, educated individual around the time that this nonsense was happening. So I'll let him speak to most of this.
Yep, so Data Live. Data Live started off with a Limit 2 and a Choice 3, I believe. They have slowly been removing the Choice 3. It is now fully unrestricted. So the Choice 3 used to be the Brainstorm that had Bounce Back and gave 1,000 cross turn. The 1/1 Yoshino anti-change bomb that also had Stand and Swap at the start of your opponent's attack step. As well as the 1/0 Toka back row that gave 15 at the start of your opponent's draw step. And then gave defensive Scry, or another magic term there. Every time your opponent crashed into one of your lanes, you could Scry one. So you could set cancels on subsequent attacks. And then we also have Finisher Kermi is limited to 2, paying for her sins of her Tier 0 format. The current state of Data Live. Data Live is not doing a lot in the current format. If it became unbanned, it probably still would not do a lot in the current format. I think Kermi to 4 would make it a good standby deck. I think full power other standby decks would be stronger. I do think it would be good. I think it would be in contention, at least. But I don't think Kermi has enough impact and enough longevity in order to maintain that 2 to 3 turn kill cycle that she was known for back when Data Live mirrors were the go-to.
So would you say the current format is stronger now that it has, or does it have more answers than the format when she was Tier 0?
The format definitely has... So the format is just more powerful. Kermi and Data Life came out at a time where it was the most modern deck. This is pre-Hololive.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Kurumi is basically like a Swiss Army knife of...
Yeah, she has 3...
text.
Yeah, so she heals on play and she sits 10-5. And she has 3 different effects with her Climax combo. She can stock swap, she can shuffle back 3.
Come on, you're the Data Live expert here.
It's like shuffle back 2, I believe. Or she can ditch 2 to burn 3.
So basically, whatever the situation, you can set yourself up for success.
The biggest thing with Kermi and what made her really abusive is that she worked really strongly in multiples and in multiples across multiple turns, as well as very strongly with the off finisher, which was the stock heavy Kermi Icy Tail, which also healed, had natural optional memory kick on it, and was pay 3, ditch 1 to Icy Tail 4.
Is this Kurumi was on a door, right?
That was it was just a yellow off finisher.
No, I mean the band.
Oh, this is a standby card.
Okay.
This is the
so
standby.
you could get this out at 2.
Yes, and that was why it was so abusive. Was you would stand by one of these out early level 2, maybe get another one out, and it would sit there at 12k because you have the 1-0 back row, as well as you maybe held a backup or something, and stuff in the format couldn't answer 12k Kurumi.
Back in the day.
Back in the day. Back in this time, the strongest decks in the format was like set 1 Slime. Fate was just coming off of its like high power format. We're coming out of like we were coming out of like 2017, like 2016, 2017 Weiss. So things like Goblin Slayer.
Good lord!
No, that's not my timeline. This was Data Live was right before COVID, so we were coming out of the 2017-18 format, and Kurumi was like just before COVID. Yeah, Kurumi was right before COVID.
You know that's 2020, right?
Yeah, COVID was 2020, so it was like this was 2019, I believe.
Okay.
That's right. Goblin Slayer was so late for English.
I think Goblin Slayer was 2020.
Yeah, super late.
It's not an old set in English, but
it's an old set.
It's an old set. It is the event set.
Yeah, but I know other sets in the format was like ReZero, Fate. This is like pre-Hololive. This is pre-Kaguya. Sword Art, I think, had a list going.
Well, this would have been pre-Mushoku, because Mushoku Standby would have answered this.
Yep, so this was the first major... This wasn't the first 8 standby deck. That still goes to Fujimi. This
is the scary one. The first one that was contending.
This is the first one that was winning games in the English format, and it won a lot of games. It won so many games that they had to ban it.
Well, they didn't ban it. They restricted it.
They restricted it. In the Japanese format, they had a 3-deck format basically of this Grisaya Saikano, so the 2 memory spam decks and then Data Live. And that was like their triangle format for a minute. They got the same restrictions, or they went through 2 waves of restrictions, and then we had our restriction. Kurumi could come off the ban list, and I think it would be perfectly fine, but it's not going to. They're going to leave Kurumi on the ban list.
She's not a powerful deck in the format. You're just insinuating she is paying for the sins of the past, and she's just permanently on there as a statement.
Yes, she is a statement, being the card that broke. So we kind of joke, it's like, yeah, Batman Ninja was the first banned card. They could have eroded that, and they could have had that, and that was like a printing and design error. Data Live was the first set to get banned for power level purposes.
Well, and I know I like to joke about this with a friend of mine, but JoJo being the set that came out before Data Live, and JoJo being such an underwhelming, not great set, and then you have this the meta breaking set that is Data Live.
The meta. It is the meta.
Well, I mean, if you're in a Tier 0 format, it's a matter of, are you playing the Tier 0 deck? No? Then you better be playing some super hyper-specific bullshit that just perfectly answers this. Does it win against anything else? Fuck no.
Yep. So, speaking of that, one of those decks, there were actually 2 decks that did that during the time the Data Live was full power. One of them was Bofuri, because it ran the 2-soul combo that dunked your opponent's board. So they would just bot deck your opponent's whole board, and they just ran that, and it beat Data Live. And that one guy did it in one tournament, and he fought 6 Data Lives in a row, and he won.
That man was a hero.
Now, that was the one champion guy. He wasn't the champion, but he won that regional. The other deck that more consistently and actually paid the price for actually beating Data Live and looking stronger than it should, was Kaguya, the last set on the English restriction list.
Or should we say not on the list anymore?
Not on the list anymore. It is finally free after being on for far longer than it should have been. They had a choice 3. It was reduced to a choice 2, and now it is fully unrestricted. The choice 3 was the Riki that on play top checked and gave power. The Resonate Drop Search that had bounce back, and I believe it also gave power when you played a climax. It had bounce back and then gave power. And the last card that was on the choice restriction was the Clean Cut Runner. So it was a mill runner that also had Clean Cut attached to it. Very strong plussing level 0 lineup. It could do a lot with that. A lot of sets would still love to have this 0 lineup. It is now fully unrestricted. Clean Cut Runner came off a while ago, and now the Riki and Drop Search Resonator are both off. This was effectively a soft ban on the Riki, funny enough, on the Clock Plus, because you needed the Resonator to use the Kaguya finisher. Kind of a really... This was an incredibly heavy restriction list on Kaguya, funny enough. The set got a set 2, and in true Bushiroad fashion, when a set is on the ban list, the sequel set is unfortunately super low power, usually gimped. There's actually not really a lot of exceptions to this. The Kaguya set 2, I think, bore a lot of extra sins that Kaguya set 1 didn't deserve originally.
But needless to say, even with this unrestriction, I don't think Kaguya is still doing anything.
Kaguya is unfortunately not doing anything.
I think it's been power scaled out of the meta at this point.
I think it's a theory that we like to throw around as Weiss players that, when you're on the restriction list, your sequel sets are usually weaker.
Well, I think that's just kind of something that happens in the designer's set.
Yeah, it's the designer's set.
If you need to start restricting cards from a set, it kind of gets you in the mindset, oh, well, we made bad decisions, or there's bad design in this set. We're going to overcorrect course in the next set.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't imagine if your set 1 had 3 cards on the ban list, or
like the choice 3, choice 3.
Why would you want to make the next set
broken
really powerful and have
again.
to come back and be like, well, we're going to put more cards in there,
mm-hmm.
and maybe not just choice cards. It's going to be, hey, this one's just
flat
out
and
banned,
limits and bans,
limited. And
yep. So
I mean, you might be able to get scot-free on that if, say, set 1 comes out and nothing hits the ban list.
Yep.
Set 2 comes out and all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a minute.
Yep. So yeah, notably, 7 Deadly Sins had this.
There you go.
Hololive also had this. Sword Art, Overlord, Quince, Bunny Girl. All of these are sequel sets, funny enough. The only exception is...
Of those sequel sets, how many of those are the older sets?
Old cards.
Old cards got banned.
Yeah, so Quince...
It's really just... I know the Sheltiers and
yep,
set 1.
Sheltier, Quince... and Slime, I guess, are all cards from prior sets that got hit. Everything else is from the set the aforementioned set where it was the broken one. So Kaguya, if it was fully unbanned, it is fully unbanned. It's not doing anything. That's why it's fully unbanned. Is there anything else that needs to be banned in the formats?
100%. It is something that has been mentioned quite a bit.
Yep, so Bang Dream is the #1 set in the format, and every single topping Bang Dream deck is running the bar level 1 combo. The bar combo itself is actually fine.
I would, as somebody who doesn't play Bang Dream, I would argue yes. The combo itself is fine. It's
fine.
the other thing attached to it.
Yes, the level 1 card that changes into the level 1 combo and allows you to run effective 8 copies of the level 1 combo is a little strong. Just a bit.
And the fact that when you change, it also power
It gives it 1,000 power for no reason.
Because you mentioned earlier, it can easily get up to, what, 9K?
So it's 9K if you change and take the stock. It's 11K if you have the 2-1 back row.
Disgusting.
Yes, it is.
It's so demoralizing to clear, like, full combo board, watch you drop the frickin' triple changers, or somehow salvage them back. It's
like Brainstorm
oh
once to get, and then hit 2 on a Brainstorm or something, and it's like, oh. So yes, it's far too loopable. Probably needs a choice restriction.
Well, it's also just consistent. I mean,
yeah,
it's so easy to get back.
Yeah, it's the fact that the level 1 combo can just, like, off the combo. Hey, look, here's a copy of the changer. I'm going to add that to hand. And then it's like, oh, look, I'm set up for next turn. Then you can, you have enough trigger control with the Brainstorms to, like, rip a bar.
I was going to say, and then being on bar, the chances of you not having that in hand.
You have other off-level ones that can grab climaxes as well. So, it is the most consistent. There's a reason it's the number 1 deck, and it's that whole package. The other thing that it, like, kind of can lean into because of that is, or it's like, that helps lean into this, the level 0 game is also incredibly powerful because it can just plus a significant amount of hand. Even if Bang Dream whiffs level 1 combo, which that's kind of hard to do sometimes.
Not impossible.
Not impossible. It's the best at doing it. One of the best at doing it. But if they do whiff level 1 combo, they can actually play the 0 game in such, like, play out their zeros and chump lanes where they still go overhand into the, like, over their level 1, like, off turn. It's really consistent. It's really strong.
It needs to be hit.
It needs to be hit. It enables the early play spam of the early play, which is another egregious card. And it enables any, and I do mean any, finisher combo of your liking.
Yeah, because you could literally pair any finisher you want with that that 1 combo, and it just works.
Yep. We typically try to stay out of yellow, just because
there's nothing there.
There's nothing there, and B, that's the 4th color. If you're running stock swap and Fumio, typically you want it so, like, you're already in green because of this bar combo. Running red gets you access to stock swap, gets you access to the other Ave Musica cards. You're already running red level 0s because they're really good. Blue is quite easy to tech into because Fumio, blue clock pluses, other good blue 0s. The blue finishers are also good. Like, I've seen 8-bar Bang Dream is a thing that exists because it's like they have a clock kicker and they have a burn 2 as well with, like, no events. That's seeing play because anti-event's really good right now because Nikkei is a very relevant deck. I don't think it's the number 2 deck. I think it's probably the number 3 deck. I think Overlord's converting recently has pushed it into the number 2 slot.
So funny enough, Japan actually does have some bans for
Bang Dream. Yeah, well, yeah, for Bang Dream in its whole. They have Stock Swap and Fumio, the classic. Notably, they had the Free Fresh counter come off the ban list in preparation for this set because they reprinted both Stock Swap and Free Fresh in this Ave Musica set.
And then they also added the changer.
And they added the changer to the choice 3 of Stock Swap, Fumio, changer. Japan typically goes into stock swap. They will just forfeit the changer, and the deck's still pretty good. It's not the most powerful Idle Hell set because Idle Hell in Japan is a very scary thing to live through, as well as having sets like Kaiju number 8. What else did they get recently? Eurocamp's really good. It's like they have all the standby stuff as well for those sets. So there's plenty of stuff in Japan. Gaku Mass is still strong.
So if they were to bring that part of the ban list over for English, do you think that would be enough to bang Dream? Or...
I think it would be enough to keep it in line with the rest of the format.
Because personally, I would argue I would want to see the stock healer restricted to 2.
The stock healer to 2 as well.
Just because that card is very abusable, and the fact that, if I'm not mistaken, it is treated as colorless, right?
It is colorless. So yes,
don't
if you
need
have
the green to play it.
Yes, so
I mean, you're going to be in the bar combo. So
you're running the bar, but yeah, it's like in theory, if you had other level 1 combos, which they kind of do because Japan has the 2nd anniversary set, and 8 salvage lists are kind of popping up for that a little bit. They can run, as long as it doesn't ruin their anniversary trait conditions, they can run the early play healer and just run that. And it works. Good. And it works, and it's good. Notably, that's another like Muron type combo in that anniversary set, in case you weren't tired of those already.
Yeah, that would be my argument, is I think the stock healer should be restricted to 2. Just because I've seen you heal, almost 5 in one turn?
It's like, I think in one turn, I've healed 3, and then still swung with triple combo to do something it again, and to like heal 2, like over the course of like 2 turns, or like 3 turns, I've healed 6 or 7. Just because I was like in matchups, so like I was in tournament, I fought against the Shauna deck, and which just shuts off my finisher. So I'm like, okay, I'll play that game, and I just sat there and was ready to heal like 30 times. And my bouncer was the first card of my stock, so it was buried about 12 cards deep. And Shauna doesn't play their stock doesn't play stock swap, so. I was ready for that matchup, just healing more than they could.
All right, so another set that I hear a lot of people talk about wanting to see things on the ban list, Nikkei.
I do not think Nikkei needs any hits. If they were to do a hit, I think it would need to be incredibly light.
Well, I mean, if you hit anything drastically in Nikkei, I think it crumbles.
I think the list as is uses all the pieces. Bushiroad, if they were to hit the thing, would probably do a choice restriction between like level 3 Modernia and level 3 Sin or something. It'd be a choice, something along those lines.
I was going to say, as much as I know people think Alice is egregious,
I think Alice is perfectly
I don't think they would hit it because it is their only early play in Nikkei, right?
It's the only normal conditioned one.
Okay.
Because I know you've been a fan of 8 salvage Nikkei.
Technically, Red Hood's a very interesting card. Because she doesn't have the early play condition.
I know, yeah.
Snow has it.
Snow gives Red Hood early play condition. And then also we have the Tianaga.
Yes, true. You do have yellow. I'm not big on the yellow package, but I'm going to have to rethink my life that I forgot about the Red Hood package because I love the Red Hood package. Is it good? No. Is it fun? Yes.
Yep.
But yeah, being the basically the
normal
healer.
Early play. Yeah, it's like the only early play healer.
Yep. And it's a good healer.
It's a good healer. It's a very good card.
You can take a card from your hand. It's like, yep, I'm just going to heal this, clock and draw with it. Get hand bone or hand advantage.
Yep, hand neutral. They won't hit that. It's design. It's a very intentionally good designed card. But it's not. It's strong, and I think it's designed to be strong. So I don't think they would hit it. That hasn't stopped them before, but I think that's a card that's at the power level that they want it to be. I don't know if they wanted the interaction of like Modernia plus standbys plus the TD with the tap counter. I don't think they intended for that whole package to be used in combination with Modernia level 1.
I mean, Modernia level 1 is just good, though.
Modernia level 1 is just good. I could see a choice between Rappy and a card.
The swimsuit Rappy?
Yeah, a bounce back and a card. Or like the Clock Plus, the Scarlet, Riki, and a card. Reduce the deck speed.
Like you said, though, I think it's too fragile. The minute you hit anything, the list dies.
Yeah,
because it uses everything.
It uses like everything. If you wanted to be really light, you could restrict the 2/2 frontal assist with something. One of the less useful cards, and they just lean into other stuff. It keeps Modernia low. Makes it so Modernia doesn't sit 7/5 cross turn, which like if Modernia lives, it's really good. But yeah, it like reduces it reduces the amount of time that would happen, or at all, really.
What if they didn't do a choice restriction? What if they did like a limited 2 or something?
If they did a limit 2,
because say they limit 2 on Modernia.
On Modernia, I don't think they would limit to a level 1 climax combo.
No, the 3/2.
You only run the 2.
I need consistency. I can never fucking find it.
Alright, some people run 3. I personally have run 3 events.
I need to find tap. Yeah, I know. I watched you put the 3rd tap counter, and you were a very happy man. Like, I'm actually finding it now.
Because I can find it now.
What if they... Okay.
So, usually...
Crazy. What if they limited Alice to 2?
I think it hits too many things, too much collateral damage.
Too many other decks or something.
Yeah, it would be some pieces of the standby deck, I think.
Specifically, like Sin.
Yeah, like the Sin.
The 2/2.
Yep, Sin, the 2/2.
Because a lot of...
Something with the...
A lot of the cards
counter.
in the Nikkei list are just kind of one-ofs, and a lot of other decks tend to do as one-ofs. Like Noise or Ludmilla.
Noise, Bounce,
Yep.
Anti-change counter... Like, and so it's like when you hit something, you do, like, it's not these weird niche cases. It's cards that you're abusing.
Well, and generally, when you want to hit a ban, sometimes it's not the card that people think is the problem. Sometimes it's whatever the enabler card
thing.
is.
Yep.
Kind of like when we were talking about Slime. Muron might not necessarily be the problem. The problem is hexproof. Sitting in the back row, so I can't do anything about Muron.
Exactly. Alice wasn't Alice was a problem. Alice was not by herself a problem. The problem is Alice came out at
the early
level
play
1.
Was the problem.
Yeah.
Or at least JP took that route.
And JP took that banning decision. We see the cards that when they are themselves the problem, they do limit them to 2 or restrict them. Things like Sokka, Gura, My Finisher.
No, they straight killed Sokka.
Yeah, well, ban or limit 2, raw.
I thought we were just talking limit 2.
Yeah,
Aki's limit 2.
Yeah, Aki's limit 2, and it's like, thankfully, that wasn't the most powerful piece of the deck. They also hit it with a choice.
Yep.
Elizabeth Brainstorm, limit 2. Should have happened far earlier.
Should be more egregious.
And it should be harder. I'm tired of that deck.
Okay, so is there any? It doesn't even have to be meta things necessarily.
Yeah.
Since we talked about Ave, we talked about Nikkei. Is there anything else you think belongs here on the wall of shame?
On the wall of shame, put Haruhi on here.
That feels like a personal attack.
This is a personal attack. So it's because it denies playing the game effectively. That is the reason why the Mikuru and the event. Yes, Haruhi doesn't do anything near those Batman Ninja, but it's a fundamental break in how the game is played. It's like the excuse that your set is old and like dated, not relevant. I don't think matters in terms of breaking game design in that way. Because in my opinion,
did you mention which cards in question?
Yeah, it's
need to be on the list.
Yeah, it's the green 3/2 that says you can't play climax, and the 2/0 event that removes the climax from play. In that sense, it's like the fact that they do it without committing a lot of deck building restriction. Yes, I know that like you're in green and blue at that point in a hierarchy list in English. Blue is way easier now because you have a blue clock plus, and green is your early play healer and like some other zeros. And you have some trait stuff, but there's nothing stopping you from jamming like 3 and 3 of each of those into your deck and just running with it. For decks of that similar era, like, so the other booster, what are those called? Like the Log Horizon, Kill a Kill.
Oh, the power up sets.
Yeah, power up set decks. There's, so like you could say like anti-damage, like anti-burn is like kind of breaking the game. It's like I wouldn't agree with that because money counter does exist, but money counter doesn't stop me from actually like performing the effects. It just prevents the damage. Not letting me play the climax just breaks the way that you would play the game. It says no in a game that doesn't get like in a game that doesn't say no like that very often.
Well, they're just fundamental actions that you should be able to take.
You are
well, at least in modern Weiss.
In modern Weiss, yeah, you are taking away fundamental game actions from like actual player actions away from your opponent.
Which you could argue that, you know, certain decks that aren't going for those actions, you know, off finishers, they aren't bothered by that per se, but
it's like,
but how much of the play field are you going to see all of these off finisher decks? I mean, you got like Slime Miron's going to be an off finisher deck to an extent.
It's like even something like Nikke plays a climax combo as a finisher. It's like you don't do it all the time, but it's in the deck. The exception is literally like standby decks, and even then, the good standby decks use a standby finisher a lot of times. The exception being Hololive. A lot of these decks still, and it's like you still just can't play the climax. Like it just says no, you can't play the climax. So I think the event, at least, like you can play around with like anti-events or siding or whatnot. I think the 3/2 that says you cannot play climax fundamentally breaks the game. In terms of saying a player cannot take an action that he would normally be allotted to do. The only other like game action that you like can't do, that like things that shut off, is you cannot like move a character. Is like the only other like thing that like gets shut down, because that's an action that like a player cannot do.
I was going to say, and then there's other cards I know that prevent...
so, like, preventing healing...
Preventing stand.
So, yeah, preventing stand, preventing heal.
I ran into that playing P3 recently. Mm-hmm. But that is specifically locked to...
it's specifically locked to a singular card on your board.
Well, and this particular instance was it had to be something that was higher than my level.
Yes, so yeah.
So I was level 2, I had an early play out.
Yeah, anti-stand is locked to early play. Anti-move can be locked to anything. Usually they are locked to higher level if they're stapled to other effects.
Looks at Helmet and Nikke.
Yeah, looks at Helmet, looks at Bang Dream. It's like, why you like this?
Because we don't like standby.
Yep, we don't like anything.
Well, and you could argue that some of those design decisions come from the JP format, because I know you've told me that JP loves their standby.
Yeah, JP format has had a lot more standby and a lot more formats dominated by standby than we have.
But when English gets dominated by standby, it tends to be very hard.
It's very hard, and then usually they hit it or something else like has been around to like stop it. So like we've had slime for a very long time. That's kind of checked standby decks.
Well, and I know when I first started playing, Mushoku was on
Yep,
the ban
Mushoku
list, but
was
it's not there anymore.
Yep. So yeah, Mushoku took the place of Data Live as the number one deck in the format. Basically, it like kind of moved into its spot because it came in after the ban list. Being the strongest standby deck, it ended up banned. Notably, it was
the
it was the tap counter.
Tap counter and the 2/2.
Yep, the 2/2.
That was
the global 1K on the 2/2. And you always went with the global 1K 2/2.
Because Ghislaine was good.
Because having 1/1 combos that sit at 8/5 is really good. That non-interactively plussed you and milled cards. But yeah, so like that got hit and that stayed off for a while. And then another standby deck eventually rose and took its place. I don't remember quite what was after that. Either that or like Slime comes out and it's a fake. It's not standby. It's just a big board deck, and then it just sits there and it's bigger than you. And it's like Slime's been there for a while to answer these standby decks.
I think Slime took the place of old standby Mushoku because Mushoku kind of started falling off, and then Slime just slotted in.
Yep.
Slime is a standby deck wearing a mask.
Yep. We also had like the Hololive set 1 decks, so a lot of Kanata piles. We had a lot of these big early play board decks. I remember because also we had Bang Dream back in the pre-anniversary Bang Dream in the Mushoku time, where we had Chu-Tu Pareo with the giant early play that was X-proof and had Twin Drive if you had both pieces on the board. That was strong for its time.
Titan,
yep, Titan 2 came out.
I wasn't around for that. I've heard stories.
Yeah, Titan 1 or Titan. So it was Titan 2 was.
Titan 2 was the big one.
Titan 2,
right?
Titan 2 was the dominant deck in English, and it's probably still like the longest running dominant deck in English Weiss. Fate to Bear Aaron into the stock. No, it wasn't Stock Soul. It was Mikasa. It's just burn one, Mikasa. Mobility Gear is incredibly strong. Fate to Bear Aaron's a +2 on reverse. Was
this the deck that ran Levi at the top end?
No. This ran Mikasa for a long time. This is old Weiss at this point.
Okay.
It was a Mikasa 3/2 that draw 2 ditched 1 on play, I believe. And then I believe it was a split 3K1 draw card climax. But it had on attack, pay 1, ditch 1, burn 1, and then on reverse, burn 1. And that on reverse, burn 1 was cross turn.
Of course. Another deck that kills the opponent on their own turn.
It could kill on your turn, on the opponent's turn. Fate to Bear Aaron was on reverse. He would gain his own pop back effect, and then he also went and salvaged mobility gear, which would save another card. So incredibly annoying. Level 0, like because of the strength of that, the 0 game developed incredibly, like a whole lot during that era because you couldn't put like Titan to 1 first with multiple reverse targets, otherwise they would plus way too hard and win the game. You would try and get to level 1 to resolve your level 1 combo first against their board, so you would have level 0 stalling battles. You couldn't plus super hard at 0, so you would sit. You couldn't try field like you used to, or like you can nowadays, I mean. Sunshine was a huge meta contender at that time. And part of the reason was it was an on-reverse combo that beat zeros, except it was also a level 1 reverser on the way back. Plus it had really good off-level 1s. And then Yo. We never got the Yo hit either in English. That's why we don't have all the Love Live stuff, I'm guessing. That's always been a fun theory for English Weiss is, did we not get certain sets because they were on the JP ban list at the time, and they didn't want to introduce an English ban list? Did it stop because Data Live got announced and then it got hit?
Well, and that's also another point to contend with. If since JP tends to get stuff long before we do, because they don't do simultaneous releases very often, if you know cards are going to be on the ban list, that's going to not do sales very well, because most people will look at it and be of the mind, well, why would I want to buy this? Because it's not really changing anything for me. At least for the meta players and whatnot, that are not going to go buy product. But people that like the IP, I'm sure they'll still go out and be like, yeah, I want to add to my collection.
Yep.
Am I going to do anything with this? Probably not, because they killed the deck.
Yep.
And I mean, that's also true, I think, when they're hearing people complain about certain things in the meta. Oh, you need to ban this. Oh, you need to ban this. If it's a very recent set. Because if they do start throwing this stuff on the ban list, I mean, I can tell you right now, I recently went and picked up Chainsaw Man for almost next to nothing.
Yep.
Because Aki's hit.
The
deck's okay.
The deck's fine,
but it's not like it was when it was,
the best deck.
Top tier 1 when, Aki's were more than 250 a pop.
Yep.
I mean, when these sets get hit, especially if there's still product that they're trying to move.
Yeah, if it's a recent set,
they're not going to. They have a business incentive to not want to do that, because then it's not going to sell.
Mm-hmm. Which is super surprising how fast Mai got hit. Yeah, Mai was hit very quickly on the ban list, considering how quickly it released. It competed in the Worlds format. It lost to 7 Deadly, and then it got it was like the end of that season, got hit, or went to Worlds, played a little bit, and then I think it got hit.
Sounds about right. But I always think that aspect too, if it's a very new set, unless it is absolutely toxic and meta breaking, they have obviously she's going to have that incentive to not want to, because they're like, oh, well, we still want to sell product, and if we can't sell product, we're going to lose money on that, and if it does badly, and we have to report that to
it's a Big Bushiroad.
They'll be like, no more sets. It obviously didn't perform well. Why would we want to make more?
Exactly.
Which is a disservice to the players that enjoy those particular IPs, obviously.
Yep.
So
it's like, you obviously nobody wants their stuff to end up on the ban list.
And obviously a lot of people would like more sets of the IPs that they enjoy.
And everyone wants more IPs. The question is, and everyone wants their IPs to be good and playable. That's another big one.
Are you trying to tell me you don't want to buy a set knowing that it's all C-tier garbage?
It tends not to help sales, I'll say that too. So that's another thing that pushes sales. Strong sets do push more sales.
Well, obviously. I mean, at the same time, though, you could make the argument a popular IP that might not be good. Mm-hmm. I have one in mind. Pushed great sales, and it got a reprint.
Mm-hmm.
Many people would probably argue it is not an amazing set, but it does perform.
It does perform.
It annoys a lot of people.
Yep.
But it was still popular enough to warrant a reprint.
Yep.
Versus something like HoloLive. HoloLive, I'd argue, was very strong. It is also very popular.
Very popular.
Had both combining together.
Both, and that's why a lot of people had HoloLive. And we see a lot less HoloLive nowadays because I think people were kind of burned out on it. But I think it's starting I think it's starting to stabilize, come back.
Well, I mean, when we played Teams Event.
There's HoloLive plenty around. You saw it. I played it, yep.
Thank God I don't think I played anybody playing it, because
I think you fought it.
Oh, that's right. Last round,
it was literally the championship round.
He deserved it.
It was championship round. You fought it for
your deck
for the regional.
Your deck.
It was 8 salvage HoloLive.
Yep. Now that you mention it, yep, I did fight it the very last round, and I was so happy to beat it, because fuck Hololive. But back to the original question, is there anything else you think belongs here on the list?
On the list.
Because personally, if you asked me back in the day, I probably would have told you some cards, but that was mostly just because I got sick of seeing them.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't. I'm just drawing a blank on if there's anything I think's egregious enough to come here.
This is like sets that
should like you said,
have
the log horizon card that turns off burn. It's like it's fine.
It's like it's not.
You're not really gonna see it.
Mm-hmm.
It sucks to run into.
Like, it sucks to run into, but it's like, it doesn't stop me from slamming a climax and turning 3 cards sideways.
Well, and at the same time, what else does Log Horizon have?
Yeah, so it's like, however, I do not think that's a valid argument, because then that gives Haruhi a valid argument.
That is true. We're going to have to take sides of that one and see who wins the debate.
Yep.
I don't
so,
nothing else.
Should Titan have been hit at some point? Probably. Sunshine should have been hit at some point as well.
You mentioned putting another card from Overlord on the list.
Or
when we were talking about Overlord, you mentioned.
I would like to see a different tap counter on Overlord. So like you could like change out the Yuri for tap counter, which then it's closer to the Japanese list. Japan just banned the 1/1. They just banned the 1/1 and then they choiced the Vampire Bride package with Big Irons. So I know they had tap counter on before, just as like a softer hit, but the 1/1 is an egregious card. It enables. It is the enabling card, too, is the thing. So.
It is the card that if you have to choose, you are choosing it.
You're always choosing the 1/1. Should the 1/1 exist? Should the 1/1 be at 4 copies if you choose it? That's another question.
Is that a thing on the list? A choice restriction with a limited?
Choose up to 2, choose up to 2 of that or something else. There is not.
That would be a funky ass ban.
Mm-hmm.
Have a choice restriction, but have one of those choices be a limited.
Yeah, because now you're getting into custom ban or into complex ban type stuff, and it's like it gets really weird at that point. You pigeonhole too much with that.
I was gonna say if you're gonna do choice restriction. If you're gonna do limited. If it's just banned, I mean. Self-explanatory.
Yep. So it's like I could see a limit on 1/1 to 1 or 2. I think 1 would have to be that way, and then choice between like the Vampire Bride and. So basically, if you just took the JP list and you lifted 1/1 Eins to 1 instead of Bandit, I think it would be fine. Yeah, it's like that'd be fine. They can have Yuri back. I don't think Yuri is a problem card. It's a consistency piece. The fact that Overlord is converting more means that it's finding the consistency outside of Yuri. Outside of the Maid.
Well, and the meta's different here.
So the meta's different.
If it's finding stabilization, it's because other things in the meta aren't
pushing it as much, yeah. I do think that Bang Dream players and Nikkei players need to play the 1/0 anti-change counters more frequently if they want to be playing that matchup. I think it's a thing that they should be looking at. Bang Dream can more than afford to make a slot in their deck for it.
Well, if they get hit with the choice, they'll have plenty of slots.
If they get hit with the choice, you'll have 4 more slots to make for that one. I can understand if you're running the check 4 level 0 in Bang Dream. I don't think it needs to be hit or anything, but the check 4, you really want to run 4 because you want to see copies of Self in that check 4 to get free stock. I think the card's really good, and I don't fault anybody for running it, but cutting that lets you put that to running a different running the blue Chihiri puts you in blue. You can run 3 now, and then you can move other cards up into other levels. because 4 copies of a Clock Plus, 4 copies of the of the 0-2 profile, 3 copies of that 0, 1 to 2 copies of Climax Swap. So you're just getting into deck building with Braden at this point. But
well, let's not get too lost in the weeds. We're
almost
about 3 hours in on
we're
this.
About 3 hours in.
I think we've sufficiently covered the topic at hand.
Yep.
The ban list. We've talked about
things
you kind of talked about why things are there and all the jazz, and
yep.
He's hashed out his personal grievances.
Yep. Things that should stay banned, things that shouldn't, could probably come off.
Because I'd probably argue that I'd like to see more things from HoloLive, but it's what they have on there, I think, is perfectly fine.
It's I think this 8 standby hit is probably one of the most elegant solutions to a deck that would have been very strong in the format, compared to what Japan has for their HoloLive hit. Just get a better image so I can zoom in on this. HoloLive is up here. Yeah, they have the ban, the limit 2, and then the standby deck's got a choice 5 on it. Kind of heavy. It's kind of heavy. So heavy, in fact, that they've moved off of Luna and the Mio. They run the Polka in the Gen 5 8 standby deck with the memory generation. So the choice of their list is this Polka.
Interesting.
Which is the bounce back. On bounce back, it surveils 1. And it's also, when you play a Climax, pay 1, looking for add any character to hand. So it's a plus and a bounce back, which is phenomenal. It's also Gen 5. Polka is from Gen 5.
All right, but we're not here to talk about the JP ban list.
We're not here to talk about the JP ban list. That's another day, and we do that much faster. Because we don't play
a lot more there, and we don't play JP.
We don't play a lot of JP. I don't play JP format that much anymore. I used to when I lived in California.
I think maybe I've played into some JP sets, but I don't think I've ever played a JP set myself.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say it is very odd being at regionals and somebody pulls out a JP set that's in English. It's what are you doing?
I know. I should. I have Grisaya in JP. I could just start bringing that with me.
Perfect. All right. Well, I think we've sufficiently covered the topic
everything.
Yet again. Is there any closing thoughts you'd like to throw in here, Braden?
Yep. We'll be trying to do this every couple of weeks, probably. Doing these nice long-form discussions on stuff in Weiss. Maybe
they might
some
be
other
a little
TCG.
bit shorter.
We might not push 3 hours. We might not push 3.
In fairness, the ban list is got quite a few cards. There's a lot to
and
talk about.
We went pretty deep into each one, so.
But yeah, I think if we get the right topics, we can
hash through stuff faster, slower, however we feel.
Well, and there's the potential that we might have additional
guests.
guests with us.
Yep. If you guys have topics that we want that you want us to talk about, let us know.
And feel free to leave your thoughts on how we discuss the ban list. If there's anything that you think should be on the ban list,
tell us what needs
to be removed.
Tell us about what needs to go on, come off, change, stay, other games that need to be banned. What do you need to see?
And I think in fairness as well, we've kind of discussed that we may venture into some additional games, but Weiss is going to be...
Weiss is the primary content, but we play the other... we play... I play Vanguard, you've played Vanguard.
I've played Vanguard.
It's
I've started playing HoloLive.
I know a little bit about Magic, and I know you've been into Magic more.
I got Magic under my belt. I got Union Arena.
You've got Union.
I mean...
Fire Emblem Cypher.
If I really want to throw myself under the bus, I know how to play Buddy Fight. Which Vanguard recently got, so I mean...
Yes,
and there's nothing wrong, I think, because each game you can learn things from, and it's wonderful, in my opinion, to be able to take things that you can see actively happening in another game and be like,
and apply it to the first game.
I want to apply it over here. and you can do that compare and contrast, like, oh, what is this game doing that's similar to this game? But obviously, one of them, it's working so much better.
Yep.
So we aren't going to be hard locked into one specific train.
Yep.
And obviously, listeners may not. You might want to skip those episodes. That's perfectly fine. But we're just here to shoot the shit, have a good time.
Yep. And let us know what you think, what you want, and what you want to see more of. All right, we're signing off.